You're going to be live in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, people of the online internets. How is everyone doing? I guess they can't reply, but yeah, so we're here. I'm Den. This is TLA. We've got a super special guest. As most of you probably already know who it is or who they are. I'll let them be introduced in a second, but standard stuff. If you've got any questions or whatnot, bang them in the chat. We'll answer them. I don't think there's anything else for that. It's just a spicy stream where we're going to be talking about One Piece theories, a bit of OPTCG, whatever really comes up and whatever the vibe's about. So, right, Lucas, do you want to intro everyone in?
Yes, I do. First up, we want to introduce SSJ8 Cody, the wonderful special grade sorcerer of the last arc, for hosting the stream today. We also have with us Joshua Victor, who I cannot remember his position on the last arc because we just named it like 3 days ago.
You're called the Joy Boy, I think.
Yeah. And then we have our beautiful historian Kube of the Red Sea, obviously Captain Den, and last but not least, a legend in the One Piece YouTube community and a legend in general. We have the Hello YouTube boy himself, Joy Boy Theories.
Bro, you gotta do me like that.
Yes.
Man, I'm really thankful for you guys inviting me. It's really cool, and I'm just here for the chill vibes, man. So let's make it happen.
Nice.
Yes, sir. Before I hand it over to
It's a
Cube
pleasure to have you.
Yes, it is. It really is, man. You are a big inspiration to a lot of us here at the channel, and it means the world to us. I don't want to push it too far, but you get it. But before I pass it on to Cube, we have a $10 donation already from our boy, the head cook of the last arc, vexyz, the lurking legend. Sorry I can't be on stream today. Much love to the TLA crew and to my guy JB. I'll be back in action once I'm settled in, and can't wait to run some more One Piece trading card game like D-Stream and Disco Piece. And the Disco Piece is real.
That's the only reason why I could imagine him missing this stream. It's because he's like on some sort of...
Oh, didn't cut out.
We lost Den.
And we've lost it into the Void Century.
This happens every
Emu's at
time.
it again.
Emu's at it again. Yeah, Emu's at it again. Lelucia. Oh, beautiful. Well, until we get Den back, Cube, you want to kick it off with the first question you got for JB?
Honestly, yeah. Before I go on the whole spicy questions, and it's just, and I think we're just curious about your headspace right now with this, especially with the flashback. But what's your overall thoughts and maybe a grading for Egghead, and specifically that the flashback we're getting right now?
Yeah, do you guys think it would be blasphemous to say that this is a top 3 One Piece arc before it's over? Because I feel like it's gonna be. That's how I feel. Like this flashback is totally goated. It's legendary. I feel it in the moment, and I try to be objective about these things. You know, like yes, what's happening now feels different, but I've been doing this for a long time. This feels like peak flashback. Like this is, I put this above Law, Doflamingo, and Corazon and Dressrosa. That one hit hard. I'd put it above that. We're talking about like, I mean, for me, like Nami, Bellemere, Arlong Park, some of those like early One Piece vibes, and that's with having experienced the whole story ahead of this, you know. And sometimes like there's law of diminishing returns, right? Like you've done so many flashbacks that maybe by the time that you're at the end of the story, it doesn't quite hit as hard, but this one did. And that's just the flashback part of this. We're not even talking about like the outside of Egghead events with Blackbeard and around the world and Egghead itself, dude. Like I basically think that this flashback sets this up. Like, I feel so strongly about this, that this arc is just going to be wildly, like, 10 out of 10. Possibly 11 out of 10. It's just that freaking good, dude.
Yeah, a lot of TLA has already placed it in their top 3. A lot of us. I think it's sitting at my 1 already. Like, it was on the fence there for me for a while, but once we hit Kuma's flashback and actually got into it, it just... it took it for me. Yes, I do remember the tier list.
I put Egghead at number 1, and people in the chat says, "Dude, it's not even finished yet." It's number 1 for me. I'm sorry.
I just feel that way, dude. Like we're talking about arcs right now. That I mean, I think we're gonna put this up with. It's long enough now with something like Enies Lobby or Marineford. I really feel that way. In terms of, I understand they're all different, but in terms of how much I'm enjoying it, like, absolutely.
And I'm
That's
gonna
my
jump in
headspace.
on something you said when you talk about Along Park. Even though Water 7 and his lobby is a good like measure to compare a goated arc like Egghead, it gives me the vibe of the transition between mid Baratier until the end of Arlong Park. We meet Mihawk. You're getting Sanji's storyline when it gets very dark. Then you get the whole Arlong Park with the Marines knowing about it. Everything like with the Kuma flashback specifically. It's like it is connecting so many things in one go. It makes me really think of that era in One Piece.
Absolutely. Like nobody ranks those arcs very highly just because they were so short, and it's kind of they're so
Yeah.
differentiated that it's hard to do that. But yeah, I mean, I feel that way for sure. Like, I mean, this has everything. It really does. Uh, like on a chapter by chapter, you had so much mystery going on, plus like intense drama. There's hype with Saturn being here. Luffy is now a Yonko, and he's like acting that way. But at the same time, there's still like questions about how his powers work, and there's a fight with Kizaru. I mean, that's what we've been waiting the whole story for Luffy to fight an admiral. Like that actually happened. It's wild.
I'm so sorry, guys. I'm looking at something.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say this, and because I did talk about him a few months ago, I never really thought his role, and I think no one would have believed when someone told you 10 years ago that when we met Ivankov and Impel Down, this guy has lived it all. Ivankov has lived it all. Marineford, Crown
Mhm.
Valley, dude has lived it all. It's
I
crazy.
think to emphasize like how long we've been waiting. Do you guys remember when the new One Piece opening came out for the anniversary and it had Luffy dressed up as like a Pirate King esque like getup and like they were searching for that golden beetle and then like ba-da-da-da-da, ba-da-ba-da-da, ba-da-da, and then like, Luffy is fighting Akainu and then Zoro is fighting Fujitora and then Sanji is fighting Kizaru. Do you think that matchup could possibly still happen here in Egghead?
Ooh. So Sanji fighting Kizaru,
Yes.
Luffy fighting Akainu, and
I don't.
Zoro fighting Aokiji.
No,
I don't see it
Fujitora.
anymore. I really don't.
Yeah,
Yeah, right now.
I
No.
don't. I don't know.
It's a dread, like,
It feels like Kizaru's big role in the story, kind of ends here. And I don't see. It seems kind of disrespectful at this point in time to put Kizaru up against one of the Strike commanders. I understand that we should respect them, and I like Sanji. I like Zoro. But I just see Kizaru in this arc being different, and then having this moment here. I just feel like we need to rethink how we see the admirals uh, in the story.
Mhm.
And not necessarily because they're weak, but just because like maybe it's time for the new guard, right? Where Akainu's at the top, he's the
I
fleet
think
admiral, and
so.
then
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think
But I've
Oda
always kind
had
of
like
seen the.
Saturn. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I talked too much.
I was just gonna. No, it's fine. I was just gonna say like, I do feel like Oda was pretty explicit when like, Saturn said, I've never seen this happen to you before, Kizaru. Like for me, that was definitely a moment where I was like, okay, this is like a different level now. We're like definitely on a level up because like Kizaru was surprised as well, And I imagine there's more to come from the admirals, like in terms of power. Like there'll probably be a lot more packed in, but yeah,
Yeah.
like I agree. We've got to rethink the way we sort of the perspective that we look at them.
Well,
Like
And
something that I've learned and I've noticed a lot, especially as I've like been writing myself and just thinking about it more is Oda's a really fan of narrative storytelling, or thematic storytelling, which is different from, let's make the thing that I know is going to please the fan base most, and instead do something that has some sort of message in it, that conveys some sort of meaning. And so with Kizaru, I mean, he's not fighting for what he wants, and that's pretty much like for every piece of dialogue and panel that Kizaru's gotten in the story, that's what Oda's hammered in. Like Kizaru is he considers himself a cog in
servitude.
the machine, and he doesn't. Vegapunk's not his enemy. He doesn't want to kill him, but that's just his job to do, right? But
Mhm.
at the same time, like when you're not fighting for what it is that you actually want, then you're nerfed. You just are. That's one of the bigger morals of the story is that the pirate world is filled with people that are pursuing their dreams, right? And or pursuing what they want, and as they do so, it helps them, or they're empowered by it.
Mhm.
And so I kind of see Kizaru. He went wayward. He went the wrong direction. But with the comparison with someone like Akainu, who's become fleet admiral, now the Navy resembles his will more so. And Aokiji, who left the Marines, because he knew that Akainu as fleet admiral would make the Navy into something that he couldn't fight for, and instead is on his own. Like the comparison between those two characters and Kizaru, kind of, I see those as different. And then,
Mm.
so
Mhm.
you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like very poetic. You use the word wayward as well with Kizaru, because like while he may metaphorically be going wayward, we see him just sort of sauntering around the Gorosei and just follow him around lazily, whereas like Kuzan actually physically went wayward. He left, went on his own little journey, and eventually his arc will probably come back round, right? Like now he's sort of had this fight with Garp. And stuff like that. So I do see it like in the other admirals as well. Personally, like they all have gone their own separate sort of way, and like I imagine they'll all come back to their resolution point. And Kizaru is definitely not going to be being redeemed. I don't think. Like personally, if
Yeah.
any of them are going to die, it'll be him. Like,
So for me,
Well, it's fitting.
uh,
I find it. Oh, go ahead.
no, just because there's something and I'm scared to lose it, and because Lucas and I are in the same head canon that if there's one turncoat or someone who will reveal that his like goals for the Marines isn't about justice, will be Kizaru. And there's something that's very
Yes.
interesting is the whole talk of Saturn. And till this day I tell people the flashback of Sentomaru meeting Vegapunk. It was maybe Sentomaru first time meeting Vegapunk, but it seemed like he already knew Kizaru because Kizaru was introducing Sentomaru to Vegapunk. So it seemed like he already knew him like from before. And the way he was speaking to Saturn, I'm not going against Sentomaru, and Saturn trying to find a loophole for him so that it doesn't intertwine. Like he want him to achieve his thing. Like it's giving the vibe of a Garp-esque type of admiral. He's not as a lapdog as we think he is. You know what I mean? Kind of made me think of Garp similar, but in a different, obviously.
I hope so. I hope that's where the story goes, but I'm sure Oda's going to cook something there, But at the very least, it's just clear that I feel like being part of the Marines is kind of soul crushing when
Hmm.
you've been there for a long time and you've risen like Kizaru has, and then you realize like, what am I actually fighting for?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like the people that I'm defending. There's just no way that it can be perfect. It's like the greater good. Um,
And of course,
and
like just to add to what Q was saying a little bit, with Kizaru too, when I was reading that fight with Luffy and him trying to get to Vegapunk, I read it in, obviously we won't know the tone of it completely until the anime comes out, but I read it very melancholic, like he was very upset that he has to do this. Um, but yeah, it's so interesting. And just to speak more on what Cody said too, I definitely see Akainu and Luffy getting matched up before. I actually have my own little head canon that that'll be the first enemy that Luffy actually takes the life of. I know I
Interesting.
don't think Oda would do it. It's just that's
what
why I
about
call it
Kaido?
just a head canon. Yeah, well, Kaido, yeah, technically he did
Well, no,
knock him off of a.
Kaido,
Kaido's
he's gonna
coming
be all right,
back.
man.
Kaido's
Yeah, he'll
coming
be all right. He'll
back.
be all right.
Yeah,
But no,
yeah,
I.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He technically killed
Throughout
Kaido. Kaido
heaven,
did
Yeah,
already
yeah,
molten lava.
yeah.
throughout
Yeah,
heaven and earth
technically.
alone,
The
I
magma
alone am the
did.
I
coping
mean,
one.
like
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
dramatic
technically
way,
it's the
though.
man.
But it's just a headcanon because I don't know if Oda would do it. That said, with the release of 1098, he is definitely willing to go into more
Shout
darker
out to Mr.
places with the story.
Bushido for the $2 super chat. We will get a new admiral, someone for Orange. Do you guys think that we might get another admiral in the series? Also, again, Mr.
Well,
Bushido saying Smoker will leave the Marines like Kuzan and Dragon. I hope Smoker left because he's on my watch. Frog watch.
like the comments kind of like both comments kind of merge, man. Like I definitely believe there might be like some quick pseudo admirals or something, but I think they're going to be gone pretty quick. Like like once the Navy fight happens, the big war, I don't think they're going to last very long. The admirals and stuff, just from a story, like a narrative perspective. Like I imagine they'll get cleared off, and like it will be about the Reformation, and it will be like Kuzan will be the leader of the new Navy, which will be like the old sword, like a old sword Mark II. And then he'll have Smoker under him, have Tashigi as like the Blade of Justice, stuff like this. Like so, Bushido's question, all comments kind of merge into one in that, but that's just my
Bro, I think
head spanning.
I think it's Kobe, or hope it's Kobe. You know, I
Yeah.
see with
Yeah.
Aokiji, I feel like he's become a pirate now. He's working for Blackbeard. That's got to feel bad to some extent. I mean, we know that he's not evil, right? So you know, but there's something that he wants from this, obviously. But I feel like the way that story ends is that he dies. You know,
Mhm.
it's really interesting if you watch film Z with Aokiji and Zephyr. Their interaction in that movie, it's really fascinating. It's possible, you know, with movies, like I feel like Oda almost always has something in mind within the actual story that's sort of driving his creativity as he's
Definitely.
adding input and writing the movies. But they have a talk there, and I just feel like and this is tough to sort of express, but you know, it's like Aokiji is tempted in that movie to fight Z because he knows that Z stands against what he wants, but his hand is sort of stilled. Uh, and it's because Z is a friend, basically. You know, he's a mentor that Aokiji looks up to. And if you go back to flashbacks, or you know, just Aokiji's past, right, with Saul and with Robin, it's really interesting that he chose to spare Robin, but then afterwards, like
Mm.
watches over her just to see
Mhm.
what her life becomes. And like, and this isn't spelled out in the story, so you kind of got a headcanon in this, but in my mind, it's because Saul believed so much that Robin would have a good future and that a life worth living, that Aokiji had to see if his friend was right, basically.
Mm.
And so
Yes.
he gave Robin an opportunity to make it happen. And then that leads us back to Water 7, is where Aokiji's, you know, he's finally come to the conclusion, like, okay, no, this isn't, like, Saul was wrong, right? She's just setting up, she's betrayed everyone along her journey, and this doesn't end well. So he's finally decided to take her out, right? And then that's when she made her friends with the Straw Hats. And then you have the scene at the end of Water 7 where they have a conversation on opposite sides of the wall, and he, you know, he kind of lets it happen. But basically for Aokiji, it's like he's not sure what to do because he doesn't know what to believe. You know, he, like, Saul had this really powerful belief that affected him. And you know, he's like, well, do I crush his dream, you know, or not? And it also applies to Aokiji himself as a Marine. Like, that's what he dedicated his whole life to do, which is to be part of the Marines and believing them as justice. You know, I feel like it's hard to when Akainu eventually becomes fleet admiral to sort of admit to himself, like, no, this isn't going the way that I want it to. But yeah,
That's
long story short
exactly how I feel.
Don't you, to jump in with what you're saying is, don't you think that maybe he was the perfect student of Garp to the point that he chose family of profession over family? Because ever since Sent Tomorrow has been name dropping, it'll be worse than O'Hara. And there's this image when he talks about O'Hara where you see Aokiji with Clover and Robin and everyone laughing like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it was a barbecue. Like, I'm wondering if Aokiji knew more, was closer to people of O'Hara that that was shown to be, you know. And he literally was like Garb student. He chose his profession over his family, his friends. Like Dandan said to
yeah, I
Garb.
mean, I want to see more from Garb, to be honest with you. I want that moment where, you know, like how does he feel about all this? Defending celestial dragons? I
Okay,
mean, like, how
okay.
does he justify this?
Let me ask a question then, so we can get into that. What's your thoughts with the whole like Akichi Garp Frozen situation? Because like, do you reckon there's a whole Snape Dumbledore thing going on there? Because like we have, you know, he wasn't killed, he was frozen, and as we see in One Piece, cold and freezing is associated with preserved will. You know, so what do you think? Have you got any thoughts on what you think Akichi's doing with a frozen Garp?
And well, you know, how I see, so this is, it really depends on how you see Aokiji in the story right now. But I feel like as Doflamingo said at the end of Punk Hazard, Aokiji looks like somebody who's finally decided something, you know? And he spent
Hmm.
his whole story really unsure. And then finally, you know, he becomes a pirate, he joins the Blackbeard Pirates. It feels like he's being a pirate is symbolic in a sense. Like, he's now chasing his one piece, whatever his dream is, whatever his idea is, like that's what he's looking to fulfill in some way. And so, you know, do you throw it all away to save a friend? You know, to save your mentor in Garp? I
Hmm.
think you can make an argument that he doesn't. You know, that it's time for him just to be greedy. You know, be selfish, and And it's like, well, he and Garp stood on opposite sides of whatever it is that he's fighting for. Maybe Aokiji sees being a member of the Blackbeard Pirates as a way to destroy the One Piece, and that maybe destroying the
Yeah,
One Piece
yeah,
will eliminate piracy, which is also a
Mhm.
big
yeah.
topic in Film Z. Maybe, I don't know,
That's
but
what
I
I sort of
really
mean
like.
with the Dumbledore Snape thing. Like, because Garp's smiling as he dies. Do you think that they both know that it needed to happen? You know what I mean? Do you reckon Garp's like, right, do it, get me, and this will complete your
Yeah,
transformation to being free of me? Like, surpassing the mentors
Mr.
like all
Bushido
human
with the
heroes do, right?
$5 super chat. Kuzan and Fujitora are working with Dragon. Akainu is the son of Rock's pirates and was abused, which is why he hates pirates to the extreme. Do you think that that could play on like what could happen in the future with admirals in some way? Oh me, I said Smoker's a bum.
yeah.
I
I don't really
own
see
it.
Akainu as being Rox's son, but I feel like anything's possible at the same time, so I don't want to shit on anything. Or
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
already
yeah.
failed the stream directive. Sorry. But
No, you're
No,
good.
no, it's no. We like within the first couple minutes.
Oh,
Like
I'm
Bushido's
just
like,
reading the
who,
super
who's he gonna
chats. That's
kill?
just
So
me
there
keeping
is,
up with chats, making sure our goats are
Oh yeah,
getting.
of course, of course.
Someone's got to do
Um,
it, and I'm
yeah,
not
I
afraid to interrupt anyone.
just to add to your point too, Joy Boy, with the whole like Kuzan being able to be kind of selfish now, it just adds more weight to that line he hit Garp with the whole you have a tendency of raising enemies. Like if that is the case, it's like him chasing his dream. I don't know. I really like the idea too of now with Dindin what you had said. Oh my goodness, I just spaced what I was gonna say.
or it happens. It happens.
No,
yeah,
Actually, I have
but
The theory must
I
be
have
go
good.
an
ahead.
yeah. You can interrupt me, Lucas, if you when you forget it. But I actually have an analogy that actually comes from Joyboy, your video, one of your recent video, the whole little brother thing, and you made a comparison with Ace. You know how Ace as a young kid was described to be like Roger by Garp, but Whitebeard said he has nothing to do. And you were saying that the fact that he was with Whitebeard all the time, he was basically limiting his freedom. Hence, he couldn't become, the part. And I kind of feel like it could be something like that. Garp is such a free person that it rubs off on people to the point that Kuzan realizes that I shackled myself. It's time for me to be selfish. Kind of give me that
mm,
kind of vibe.
Yeah. Well, it's such a powerful story at the same time. The only thing that I don't like about Garp having actually died in Hachinosu, is I want some closure between Garp and like Luffy, for instance, or Garp and
yeah,
Dragon. And
Yeah,
and you
Garp and
you could
Dragon.
still get
Yeah, it's
that.
finished.
For instance, like maybe Gecko Moria, you Edo Tensei Garp's corpse in some way, or maybe Emu's powers have something to do with that. Who knows? And enough of Garp remains that it's just basically what you need is you need Luffy to know that his grandpa died, and that can't be off
yeah.
screened. But
Yeah,
that's
I
the only thing that I
completely
don't like
agree.
about this. Everything else is so powerful.
And Moriya's
Mhm.
in Hashinosu, so I mean, both the body and the fruit is there, so there could be a narrative where it's a parallel version of what happened to Thriller Bark, but with they're interesting fruits. They're pudding. There's a lot of different fruits that you can play around with. So
Yeah. Well, Usopp's are impossibilities are a contradiction in One Piece.
Yeah.
And in Thriller Bark, Usopp says like, "Oh, you can't revive the dead. That's absurd." And technically, I guess he was right with Thriller Bark when he said it. But possibilities are it's a contradiction in the story. So,
All I'm
maybe the dead
saying
can come
is
back, even
there's
though people don't like
frozen
that.
giants,
Mhm.
there's frozen stuff, frozen giants,
Uh-oh.
and all sorts of frozen people always in a row, and defrosting is probably the way forward. Like people coming back from the dead from the ice.
You cut out
Yeah,
real
we'll
bad
see.
for a second. Sorry.
Oh,
Go ahead.
sorry,
It's also
sorry.
yeah, and it's also possible that maybe Blackbeard has some purpose for Garp, and he just didn't die, and Aokiji just froze him, and he's a subordinate, right? Blackbeard is
Hmm.
captain, so Blackbeard gets to say on what happens to Garp, and Oda could logic it that way as well.
Yeah. And
And this
doesn't
is
Garp
where
have a
Zebek is
high
put into Garp's body, right? Something like that.
what was that, Dindin? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I was just saying, like, this is where the TLA crew would start talking about Garp becoming Zebek, and Zebek, like, we've seen him frozen. He could definitely have a will put inside him. I hope Oda doesn't do that. Like, my
Mhm.
hope is that this is way, like, West. I know this is crazy, but my hope is that he's put into Marie Joie freezer, and then when the Mother Flame or Uranus is used, it heats up the world and it heats up the freezer, everything in the freezer, like the straw hat and stuff, and Marie Joie thaws, and then Garp starts breaking out of Marie Joie from the inside out. I'd love that to happen, but I don't think it is going to happen. But sorry, Lucas, you carry on. Tangent over.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. You're good. I was actually going to change the subject a little bit, if you guys don't mind.
Go ahead,
You
man.
do.
Yeah, change the topic a little bit because I want to ask Joy Boy more about the Booms, your book series. I believe Volume 3 just dropped in the middle of October, if I'm not mistaken. Yes.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't gotta
Congrats.
talk too much about this, but it's just it's a passion project. I did
Mhm.
theory for a long time, but even before then, it's just my mentality. Like I think that most people can tell that I'm very genuinely myself on YouTube, in conveying my passions, right? Which is just it's so related to storytelling, since
Mhm.
I was like really young. And so it was always on my bucket list to create a story. From I was like 9 on the forums reading Harry Potter. It's just the way that it was. And so of course
Yay.
there's a lot of trash there, but doing theories on YouTube it kind of prepared me. I started thinking about it, and in a way I like developed a sort of voice.
Mhm.
So I just decided to do it, and I wrote it, and I think that it's great. But there's still learning processes involved in that, which is I've just come to learn this, that um subjectivity, basically.
Mhm.
And this is even like true when you react to One Piece chapters. Like how you feel about certain things that are happening is different from everybody else. And so, but yeah, I mean, I wrote it, and
And
it's just
congrats for doing that. It's a feat.
great.
Yeah, it's a
Seriously
feat.
Yeah,
impressive.
it's
A major
yeah, it's
accomplishment.
it's like one thing that it's like eternal, you know what I mean? Like One
Mhm.
Piece will eventually end, but to start sort of like branch out on my own path was always the objective, and it's fulfilling. So I'm glad that I'm able to share that with people, you know what I mean? And
Oh
and
yeah.
I think at the same time as you read it, if you vibe with it, I think that you get a little insight into who I am as a person. It's really like vulnerable. And and like I don't know, man. I
I
really
think
am empowered by that.
yeah, I think that is super empowering, dude. To like you mentioned, like gaining voice, and it's personally like why I would advise anyone, if you ever think about making content, like just make it. Like doesn't matter if it doesn't do
Mhm.
great in the algo, just make it. Like because every time you edit a video or record something, it's an expression, and you're getting closer to like having your own voice and being able to do stuff like you take in all this information, and to be able to do that for so many years like you have, and then to reflect that in like creation itself, by creating these books and stuff. I think it's genius. It's so you're very natural, like very pure in my opinion, like in the cause, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same reason that I got on YouTube, or even before YouTube, just making theories. It's just it's a form of expression. I like to think of it a lot like fan fiction, but it's like expressing my vision for the story. And a lot of people just happen to resonate with it. And that's the only reason why I'm sitting here, and everybody has seen my videos before, or knows who I am, as far as the One Piece community is concerned. But there's just some internal drive there to create. uh
Yeah.
and yeah, to take it away from One Piece, partly just a challenge as well. Like, can I actually do it? When I started writing it, I was like, man, I don't have experience writing. Not since I was in high school. I certainly didn't go to school for it. I don't have the connections for it. So it was like, well, I think that I can, but can I really?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
could, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good. That's a lucky result.
I had tried to write a book before, man, and I got like 3 or 4 chapters in. So to push out 3 volumes already is just astonishing to me. Like it's such a feat, man. Like Hyde was saying, or Din, my bad. Um,
It's mine.
yeah. But after what you're saying about it, like that, with how personal it could be, and like, I really do want to read it. I read the synopsis last night. It it's a very intriguing setup too. You have it's pirates, and they're in a toxic environment, if I'm remembering correctly.
Basically, yeah. So
Um,
it's a windy world. The world itself
mhm,
is windy. and the dust in the air is a drug. And so the thought process, the original idea which created the story really is, I'm heavily inspired by Oda.
Mhm.
And more specifically, the way that he writes his story thematically is really powerful to me. If you watch any of my reviews or any of my content, right, I really get into like not just what's happening, but why it's happening,
Yes.
and what it means. And so
Yeah.
I live in Austin, Texas, which is kind of like San Francisco, California, or Los Angeles in a sense. It's very similar, but there was a homeless issue here basically,
Yeah.
where you would have a bunch of people under bridges all the time. And I had this thought as I was driving around one day, is like, what's going to happen to these homeless in the future? And they were just really, there's a lot of them. And I just knew that it wasn't going to last very long. The bigger the problem gets, eventually the regular people are just going to have enough of it, and they're going to kick them out, which
Even
is
more than believe.
precisely what happened. And so the story and the world building all center around this concept of like, what if our heroes are homeless people from the future, where they have been kicked out of the cities to live in their own outlaw Wild West sort of terrain,
Mhm.
free, and basically the people didn't want to interact with them. But at the same time, you have things like shelters, food shelters, and such like that, where the people in the city don't want to feel like bad guys, so they take care of them in a very distant way. So yeah, that inspired sort of like the drugs. It's kind of like Dune. If anyone has read Dune, there's the
Yeah.
Yeah, I
spice.
was.
It's similar in that.
You like how familiar? Just like don't let me talk about it for too long. But how familiar are you with Dune?
I've read most of the first book. I didn't like the writing style itself. I'm most familiar with
Yeah,
Dune
the
growing
writing
up
style's
watching
fine.
movies. I've seen all the movies for it. Yeah,
The
it's just
original
older.
ones,
A lot
the
of
old
the
wacky ones,
say what?
the original like the old wacky one, like the old wacky ones, like the original old Dune movies from like the 70s. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh yeah. I've seen that. Well,
Yeah,
Dune
yeah,
was my
yeah.
dad's favorite. Was my
Same.
dad's favorite book. That's actually one reason
Same,
why
same.
the three volumes actually combines for like what is essentially one big story. Your 800-page fantasy book, and I split it into three
Yeah,
because I wanted to get that first one out just so that he would be able to read it. If he passed
yeah,
sadly at
yeah,
the beginning of this year.
Yes.
yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, so like the inspiration for Dune, it's just like it was a big part of my childhood because my dad watched it all the time. It's
That's
not Dune,
amazing
and
to
I don't
hear,
want
Keith.
to say that it's Dune, but what's crazy is when I first like thought of this, I was like, man, Dune is so old. The world is ready for sort of a revisioning of some of the concepts from Dune that were
Mhm.
were hyped,
Yeah.
like Spice, for instance, and then they came out with the Dune movie, like about a year after I started writing
Dude,
it. But do be like
We
that
yeah,
sometimes.
actually to shout out
dude,
a
man.
couple friends of the last arc that are in the chat real quick. We have Desnus the dwarf in the chat. Love you, Desnus. You're my
Yeah, dude.
brother from a German mother. Uh, oh my goodness, I accidentally clicked on a video. My phone is stupid. We also have though Tori Mori in the chat, who has actually read the first volume and is very excited to read 2 and 3. So that's pretty dope, actually. The
Nice, nice.
booms, yeah, he said the boom slapped so hard. Still got to read 2 and 3 as soon as possible.
Yeah. It's
Mm,
it's so
yeah,
interesting, man. There's just so much learning. I can't possibly convey to you all the thoughts that I have about series. I tend to be really hypercritical. It's just the way that it is. Like Ravuja, if you guys know who did my art for a long time, is the same way as well. Talking to him about his own art, I think it's great, but he's always like, I could have done this better.
Mhm.
Finally, as I'm like doing this myself, I feel that way. But it's just like I feel like you have to get all the way to the end in order to really appreciate the vision. It's really like the consistent comment that I've gotten about it is unlike anything else, which is I take that as a compliment.
Yeah,
That's
that's a huge compliment.
a
Yeah.
world in a world filled with all sorts of stuff. And I see that. I personally I think that's true. But some like there's spaces in the middle where I just wonder like what could I have done differently to better convey where the story is going because it's so different to help people along the journey, which feels like the biggest like hurdle and probably the biggest mistake with the entire series is making sure that like on every step of the way like people like you have to this is the same thing that with expectations are so vital to
Mhm.
storytelling because people want to know what to look forward to, right? So you can almost be too subversive, um, you know, were too unpredictable, where you could potentially lose some people. Absolutely, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in reading it. I'm definitely gonna have to order myself volume 1, and because it sounds interesting. And I'm not a huge I don't know Dune that well. I've seen the '70s movie, and I read like the first few chapters of the book. I had problems with the writing style as well. It just seemed very
Yeah.
dry to
Just
me.
different.
Yeah, it's just different.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't really compare it to Dune.
Mhm.
Like the world building is similar to Dune. It should remind you of Dune, but the story
Oh
is
yeah.
not Dune at all.
Oh,
It's actually, if I were to pick one story that I think that most closely resembles the feel of the Booms, it would be Berserk. Really,
oh yeah, I'm reading
the
it.
Nice one.
Yeah, Josh is like
it
me too.
I
I was
like the
muted, so
concept of
I just said
structure.
it was great. Sorry.
Yeah, I love the concept of the struggler. You know, that's what Guts is. You know, and every step of his journey, you know, no matter how hard he tries, something bad ends up happening. He's brought back down, but he continues forward. And that's not the Booms, but if you as you read it with that in mind, it'll make a lot of sense. And
Mhm.
definitely like spiritually, it's not as dark as Berserk. I wanted to bring it back because the other thing that I love about One Piece is the jokes. You know, I like the lightheartedness, the humor.
Yes.
And so I wanted Berserk, but with a little bit less edginess, I guess,
Mhm.
and to like combine those things in a like a unique recipe. So that's the feel basically.
Kudo, like, um, it's quite like it's like pretty intense and insane how skilled Oda is at sort of putting them darker themes out there with like camper visuals, like you're saying, like Berserk, but without the edge. I mean, like when you think of Big Mom and Carmel's backstory and stuff like that, it's so dark, but it's done in like a playful way, which I think personally, like I've written before, and like that is like intensely hard. You know, so hard to get both the juxtaposition. So yeah, impressive.
His range is just otherworldly, totally. Like pretty
Yes.
much everything
Yeah.
he tries to do, he nails. Which, you know, it's like it's easy as a consumer and you're just looking around to overlook this, but I mean, it is incredible. I feel like we're reading the greatest story of our generation. That's what I think, honestly.
Oh,
And I'm not saying that just because
Yeah.
I'm a One Piece creator. I say that genuinely from the heart. Like you
yes.
take. Oh, I mentioned and when I was talking to you guys the other day, you know, like the hero's journey, right? Like you take
Mhm.
the classic stories that have been loved for eons in humanity, and you just like you final form that. You know, that's how
Yeah,
I see it.
like
I
It's
would
like
get.
I oh sorry boys, we all talked at the same time.
the word
Yeah.
biblical is all I was gonna say, but yeah.
Yeah, but no, yeah, I was gonna say my wife. I've been trying to get her to read One Piece for like the past 6 months, and she's a big fan of like classic literature, like the Odyssey and the Iliad, and those great philosophical works, those old epics. And I was like, One Piece is the epic of our generation. Like it's a masterclass in storytelling. Not only like the twist, but his emotional impact writing, his the way you feel for these characters. You don't feel like you're reading about characters, you feel like you're reading about people you know. It's amazing how much emphasis Oda can put on the smallest thing to make it impactful. Like his writing is a masterclass in how to write. Cube, what
And
were you
Joy
going
Boy
to
like
say?
mentioned ending.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
I was gonna
Mhm.
jump in. It's like it's more than the hero's journey or even Asian folklore because basically, so you could get the vibe. I am a francophone. I'm from Belgium, so it's like I had to learn at 7 years old everything about fables, and even like stories like Reverie and like even the wording in French from French to English. Oda is very good at it. It's like it's not someone who says, you know what, let me get some sort of French pun to put in that moment. Like Shandora and the Royal Jackson, in French, it literally translates two different things. Either the Jackson that sleeps or the Golden Jackson, while Shandora is the Golden City or the city that sleeps. Like he is very good in those, like, and it's impressive, yeah. On
Mhm.
the whole French aspect, like he really gets it.
Yeah, the
Yeah, that was
language
just
is
Then
gonna add
pretty
on.
insane as well.
Yeah, man. It's all
you
reverie.
know,
Sorry.
it's all a reverie, pushing the reverie agenda.
Yeah.
So listen, I do have a question, which because I do want Lucas to bring up his personal theory afterwards about it. So, Joy Boy, going back into One Piece, what was your we've seen pentagrams of Brook in the past, but what was your opinion when you saw that pentagram of Saturn?
Yeah, so it's just weird. I think objectively, when you look at it, it's unlike any other thing associated with devil fruit abilities. Um, and of course, it's possible that it's just the pentagram is just some sort of visual effect tied to Saturn's mythical zone devil fruit, and it's just that's the way that it is. But with the fact that when you connect that with Brooke and during the time skip, being summoned, Satan being summoned, uh, it's interesting to me to wonder if it's some sort of magic or power that exists within the world that just hasn't been explored that much yet. I got a big theory on this. I think I forget what the hell it's called. I change the titles of my videos all the time. But the Devil's Fruit. Oda hints at the forgotten truth of devil fruits. That's basically my thoughts on that. But I think that there's more here. It's not. Um, I would choose a twist as far as Saturn's abilities go.
Mhm. You had said too in one of your videos about devil fruits and how they are brought into the world and they are devils. Uh, would you mind like going into that a little bit with me?
Yeah. So we've heard for the longest time the idea that when you eat a devil fruit, you have a devil within you. And I
Mhm.
think Kaku and Lucci and CP9 explained to us that if you eat two devil fruits, the two devils inside you fight. That's why you die. Um, but for sure, there's some sort of entity that exists within the fruit. It's visually depicted in Dressrosa as like a kind of soul, where the soul exists within the fruit. The user eats the fruit, and then has the power of the devil fruits. The user dies, and the soul floats off into a nearby fruit.
Mhm.
And so it just like souls are a thing that exists within the world of One Piece. Like Big Mom has the soul fruit. She can literally take that. It's also lifespan. Um, and it makes you wonder, like as far as the creation of devil fruits themselves, what is that technology? And so I combine this with theories that I have about Smile, which is, like why does Smile work the way that it is? Why can't they create Logias and Paramecias? Why does it have to be zones or mythical zones, right? And my conclusion is that because Caesar only had access to the lineage factors, the essence of living creatures, or in the case of
Mm.
Vegapunk, the essence of Kaido as the Dragon Man. And so, yeah, I mean, just take that concept as like as hard as you can go. It's like, well,
Yeah.
and then so, man, I don't know how like it's difficult to explain my full thoughts in this kind of setting, but
No, yeah,
I
you're good.
wonder,
There
Oh,
is
I
sorry,
something
sorry.
wonder
actually.
what. Go
Here,
ahead.
one second. No, go
Yeah.
ahead, Jordan.
So yeah,
Oh, fuck.
yeah.
No, you're good. Cube, go. I'm sorry.
Yeah, to jump onto this, do you think, because that was an idea I had a while back, do you think the reason why it may be for Smiles, for Caesar Clown, or like Vegapunk, the years he took to create Kaido's fruit, and we know that Kaido escaped 30 years ago, do you think like maybe Stussy, the reason why she was perfected all those years ago is maybe you need a livestock, like whatever you're trying to recreate, you need something to be like the Delph user
Yeah.
himself to be
Well,
there.
yes. Well, for Vegapunk and Caesar, yes. But for the original Devil Fruit, no. But there's some connection between the two. They're hitting on something close to creating basically anything, which is really interesting. But one of my big tinfoil ideas is that the Nika fruit or Nika itself was a god that once existed, and actually has powers, and it's the inspiration or it is what actually created the devil fruits. You look at
Mhm.
something like the Sunlight Eve tree, right, that exists. Um, I wonder if that's the tree of the devil. I think Library of O'Hara, Artur, he made a big theory about that way back in the day where he speculated the same thing. But, when you go back to the Smile Factory, what are the ingredients that they needed in order to create devil fruits? Well, they needed this SAD, which I think is lineage factor or soul, and it's green, and we have the like law cuts it in half in Punk Hazard. You need trees, um, and at the very top of in Dressrosa, the Smile Factory are sunlight elegant flowers, which
Mhm.
remind me of Sunlight Eve Tree. And it's not the light of the sun that's creating these things; it's the flowers, which is really interesting. And I wonder if there's something there.
Mm. Yeah,
Mhm.
there's a dude in the server who has who talks a lot about that, about the flowers, particularly the sunflowers and stuff like that. There's a few ink on the
Right.
spreads
But that
for
reminds me of
the
Joy Boy,
combined.
right? Yeah, that reminds me of Joy Boy. It makes me think of, because I mean, I understand, it's like the light of Nika,
Mhm.
and that
Yeah,
the, and to add this on, like I speculate in the same Devil Fruit video is like, okay, well, you need trees. Trees absorb souls, which is another thing that is conveyed to us uh, in
like, yeah,
in in Jaya, um, with Nolan's flashback, right, where the souls of their ancestors, or the bell chimes and the souls of their ancestors go into the sacred trees.
Mhm.
But the I so you have trees, you have the power of Nika or the sunlight of the elegant flowers, and then maybe what you're lacking is the power of the moon, which
Mm.
is it's really
mm,
interesting to think about. But there might be another god fruit in the story with Blackbeard, where it's like similar to Luffy, where the darkness fruit is mislabeled, it's misclassified, or it could be Emu. That could work as well. But so like the interesting thing with moons is you have like Su Longform, and you have Kuro that get some sort of ability from the power of the moon. And
Mhm.
it's definitely one thing that's lacking from Vegapunk Smile Factory. And I don't know. I feel like I'm explaining this poorly, but yeah.
No, no, you're
no,
not.
no,
You're
no,
no.
no. Ultimately, you're spitting. It's interesting. I was going to ask you. I meant to ask you a while back as well, like in DM and all sorts. Like, where do you think these sort of wills come from that are in the fruits? However, now I want to ask you. Um, it's interesting, right, that the that sapphire scale is daylight and moonlight. That's kind of interesting. Like that's one of the first
Yeah.
instances I remember that coming into One Piece, like at both. So it is interesting because the flowers obviously being sunflowers and then the moon, moonlight. So yeah, it's interesting.
Symbol of the sun and symbol of the moon are the two of the most prevalent ones in the entire story. And I
Yeah,
think that they're
I don't
I
think that.
speculated this.
Go ahead,
Go
Josh.
ahead.
What's that?
Yeah, I don't think that the symbol of the moon means something evil. I think the moon is something that shines the light right before the dawn, something that gives
Mhm.
hope.
Yeah,
And like
yeah,
to
So,
bring it
yeah.
back to like the sunflower thing as well. Like the Thousand Sunny even is like resembling not only a sun, but like people mistake it for a sunflower even when
Mhm.
they first see it.
Yep.
So
Yep. The flower is also really interesting. Like I forget all the examples. Like damn.
and
But
it's
anyway,
like
there's
when
a
you
lot of
think of
examples
it,
like
like Crocus
like
is the big one for me. Crocus and the island that Usopp was on. All of those islands were living like
Greenstone
flowers.
Forest,
Yeah,
Mhm.
like
Green
they were living
Archipelago.
plants. Like it
Mm.
like the way they all like bended towards the
I
sun.
mean,
Suns grow toward.
you know, like you probably heard me say it 100 times at this point. I've got a video on it as well. Like it is interesting the whole greenstone forests, and then you've got Greenbit, the only two places that look like that, and Greenbit looks separated from Dressrosa. They seem to be involved in the making of Sad, which ended up in the mutation up to fighting fish, and then now we've got this green blood, which has bubbles in it, which represent which match the ones at Sabodi in my opinion. So you have this like weird. The Boyne Archipelago does seem to be tied to a lot of strange things through green stuff like in flowers and
well,
plants and
green is life.
mutation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And life is
Yeah,
soul as
yeah,
well.
and
So
will
that works.
yeah,
And
exactly.
what
Yeah,
color
like
is
3 day
Brooks' soul?
agree.
green
Green.
exactly.
Yeah.
3 day
Green.
3 days like theory is that the Emerald Kingdom is a city like made of will or like strong will.
Mhm.
That
And
bit's coming out in a couple weeks actually, but
Oh my God, just like
or
Green
it could be
Lantern.
you know
Sorry.
as a random thought as well, Emerald City, but it's like ghostly, like I don't know, green is
Soul
a
City.
color that's associated with that, or like for instance Davy Jones, whenever you
Mhm.
see that depicted in stories, like underwater, it's
SpongeBob,
kind of
yeah. Yeah,
And also,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I do want to name drop those people. In the Will of Ohara, Vegapunk talk about the importance to bring flowers for Clover, and the first time we met Hyryuk, he talked about Sakura flowers. So I do feel like there is something with flowers that is like deep, and especially in the science community, like for Vegapunk and Dr. Hyryuk. You know.
Yeah, I mean, Oda's
Which-
given each character, well, not each character, but a load of characters flowers, like Blackbeard.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Also,
Oh, go ahead, Jorge.
oh, it's also interesting that Ryokugu or Green Bull has a plant fruit, right? And he's also literally sucks the life out of the people at the end of Wano, Queen and King. You know, there's I don't know. It feels like association between life, but and like it. I don't know. It absorbs it, I guess. But I lost my train of thought. So anyway, go ahead.
The previous user of Ryukyogu's fruit made the islands that Usopp landed on.
Bowen Islands. I was thinking the same thing actually.
Dude,
when we were talking
like
about
that just lit my mind up.
I do have a headcanon that I think basically we seen what he did in Wano, right, during the night. You know,
oh my goodness, Kube. Shout out to Grand Line Bound Smokey for the member. He's been a member for 3 months. Welcome to the TLA crew, Grand Line Bound Smokey. That's just a baby what it do.
Joy Boy, remind me after the stream, or one of the boys remind me, and I'll send you a link to one of like Smokey's videos. He makes like some weird, like it's the funniest. He's definitely the best One Piece comedian there is, and like there's loads of people voicing different parts. So yeah, it's funny. But
it's
anyway,
it's a good time.
It's
just you got to see it. It's funny.
So
I wanted to.
My point. Wait. Oh yeah. Sorry. Go.
No.
If it's
okay. No, yeah, because the reason I brought up the devil fruit thing is because you and I had actually, I told you this when I was messaging you earlier, like that theory when you said the devil fruit thing, it clicked something for a theory that I had as well. Because I've had this big agenda, and I know the boys are tired of hearing it. I believe that Emu. What's that?
Before you pivot, because it was a Green Bull thing, Cody interrupted me just in a 2 second. I'm wondering if, because Green Bull was fighting against the people in Wano during the night, but Bakken, there was a sun out. So I'm wondering if Green Bull's logo will explain then with nature why certain zone users or mythical zoans, when they're awakened, they instantly heal, because she kept saying the guy was a monster. He kept getting back up. So that's why I think like maybe Green Bull being a Logia might actually explain some of the natural stuff that happened in the world of One Piece. Yeah, that was sorry. I didn't want to get drowned. You can go.
Oh, no, yeah, you're good. So I had this concept that with the devil fruits, I've been focusing really hard on when you first get it, you make that deal with the devil. And I think that before the Void Century, there probably weren't too many devil fruits like they probably were. And when you were talking about how the devil fruits come to be, that's kind of what clicked it for my theory. And I think Emu made a Faustian deal, like a deal with the devil. And at the beginning of what we would perceive as like the time before the Void Century, like what caused the Void Century. And I think that they are now part of that deal is that they have to sacrifice a certain number of people within a timeline or something like that. I still haven't fleshed that part of it out. And that's why we see all these cleansings. It's why we see all these races that have been wiped out of existence completely. And then when I had watched that theory video of yours, it clicked to me that they're doing the sacrifices to bring these devils to life or these powers into this world. That's what's creating these devil fruits. And I think the majority of them got created during the Void Century, like a mass cleansing. And with the Nika fruit specifically, I think Joy Boy was a Buccaneer. And I think that the Buccaneers were one of the first groups to get cleansed. And that's what created the Nika fruit, is because they believed in that real sun god Nika that was around at one point in time. And because of that, their will became the Nika fruit. And as being one of the last Buccaneers, Joy Boy took up that mantle and became Nika to save not only his people, but the world, technically.
Yeah, I like the full Metal Alchemist vibe. I think that's the one thing that when I brought it up, people were like, "Well, it's too similar," you know. But
yeah,
there's a lot of things that are in One Piece that are similar to other great stories. But with the pentacle being the way that it is potentially, and the creation of devil fruits, these souls had to come from somewhere. My personal idea is that maybe they're the souls of hell, so they're literally demons that are given purchase in the real world. But I mean, obviously we'll find out at some point in time. I
Yeah.
really like the
But
theory, to be honest with you, that like for instance, the ancient kingdom is just, or the people that comprised it mostly, were erased, and then
hmm
became the devil fruits that we know today, which is actually really interesting if you think about it. It's like, well, maybe at the conclusion of the story, we need to kill the devil fruits so that
Yeah.
so that these souls can rest, or something like that.
It's
something that like
tragic, and it gives a tragedy to the devil fruit that I could see Oda really, really leaning on. What were you saying,
yeah,
Dinden?
like a
Sorry.
massive life. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
interesting. Uh, yeah, sacrificing. We have seen the pentagram, but I was gonna say it's something that we have talked about a lot as well. Is this like idea that like we're seeing fruits, devil fruits in like a different way now, and I can't help but think that like Luffy's fruit and Blackbeard's fruit are pretty much identical. The main
hmm
difference, except for the stem, is that one's like swirls are clockwise and the other ones are anti-clockwise. And they're like you don't see fruits like this like in One Piece. So I'm confident they're tied somehow. And like Joyboy, you mentioned earlier about him maybe having a god fruit. I completely believe it. Like I'm guessing the four gods were, or the four people that had them fruits or whatever had a balance in power, and then this other guy came along, um, which would be the fifth god fruit, like somebody who's desiring a change of establishment, destruction,
hmm
chaos. But my point is that like with his fruit, we have this extreme like sense of gravity. And it's weird because like it doesn't necessarily fit with darkness. Darkness and gravity aren't the same thing. But we do see things getting sucked into this hole. And I just think like with Luffy and what we've seen with his ability of imagination, and that like being able to make that real, and that being on the Nika fruit, which is like it resembles the Yami Yami. It feels to me that like together you might be able to open the gravity, wherever this gravity is coming up from, a different dimension, let's say hypothetically, and then the Nika fruits used to bring the demons forward, make them real, and then they're kind of set out into the world. And potentially, I could see even Saturn being one of them, one of these like demons. And I mean, gets onto yokai and like the idea that
Yes.
we were talking about
Literally a
Robin and
demon.
Yeah.
yeah, we were talking about Robin, right? And yeah, she literally became a demon. O didn't say anything about it. She fought Black Maria. Anyway, I won't go down that line. But anyway, the point is, if she can make it, right, from being a child, getting all the way without killing the world and stuff like that, then she is a success in Akiji's eyes, going back to what we started with the stream on. Like if she is a
It
demon
all
that can
comes around.
control herself,
hmm
then it's a success. She is the flame of revolution, you know what I mean? She is the success of the world. So but yeah, big
I feel
topic.
like you're thinking on like a high tier right now. But with you're talking about like Blackbeard being potentially a mythical zone or a misclassified fruit, and darkness
Yeah,
being somehow related to gravity.
Heater,
I
I'm guessing.
personally think this is like, if you just ask me point blank what I think that Blackbeard has the moon counterpart to Luffy's sun fruit,
Yes.
and the moon
Yeah.
is associated with gravity, which would make that power make more sense. But the way that I sort of like headcanon all these things, how it makes sense to me, is like Luffy is the sun god, and what the sun represents in the story, right, is a fulfillment of dreams. If you like read Bink Sake, I can't word for word it for you, but it's like the whole idea is that the whole adventure occurs during the night, and it's dark, and you don't know where you're going, but there's something that you're actually pursuing, and the light that guides you during the night is the moon, which represents your dreams. So the
Mhm.
your dreams are pushing you forward into the unknown. And then once you reach the dawn or the day, the sun is like, you did it. But the
hmm
majority of dreams that exist within the story, they don't ever reach the dawn. You
Oh,
leave, you
well,
die unfulfilled, which is what
that's
Bing Saki
interesting.
sort of what yeah,
So,
that's what Bing Sake sort of
Mhm.
explains, right? It's like, oh well, our journey ends here, but fear not, another day will, or another night will come, or something like that. So with
So we
Blackbeard being
go ahead,
related
sir.
to the moon, yeah, with Blackbeard being related to the moon, I like to see it as all the unfulfilled desires, whereas Luffy
hmm
it fulfills them. Imagination, he makes dreams reality, right? Blackbeard represents all these ones that don't come to pass, which makes that different. Also I love the shades of gray in One Piece, and that's kind of how
Hmm.
Blackbeard is in the story. Like Blackbeard and
So,
Luffy are really similar.
would you think that like Luffy is the man who's going to carry, like Whitebeard said, hundreds of years of the history on his back, the wills of all of those who like were going to succeed. Do you think Blackbeard then is like carrying the wills of those who failed like horribly?
Right,
Mm,
exactly. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh
it's
yeah, that's
basically like
brilliant.
like like not everyone like even at the end of the story, not everyone is going to be fulfilled. You could go back to Kuro, right? There's association
Yeah.
between Kuro and the moon, like something about it inspires him. But you know, his dream is for peace, very similar to other characters in the story. But the you know, in the pursuit of it, you know that Kuro himself is not going to be fulfilled because part of his dream of peace is for his role in the world to you know, there's an aspect of his role in the world that just never going to come to pass because he's a villain, and just works out that way. Regardless, there's the
Nolan as
future
well.
of the
Yeah.
world One Piece. The dawn is just not going to apply to everyone, and so it's this bittersweet feeling that you get of like, well, you know, it's like what is the greater good, or maybe greater good is the wrong way of phrasing that. What is the best fit future for everyone? What is the will of the people?
Yes.
So to speak, you know, but then you can not fall under that. And I feel like that sort of represents Blackbeard and also his crew really well. You know, like Katarina Devon is out here wanting to behead women, you know, and it's like, look, that's her desire, that's her dream or whatever. But, you know, but put that one on the shelf, you know, that's not, there's no dawn for that.
So I do have
Would
two
you
things.
like?
Yeah.
I was just quickly going to ask real quick. Would you agree that like the story could likely end for Blackbeard with him going to sleep forever, like someone who just never sleeps finally goes to sleep and the dawn comes up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that'd be incredible. Honestly, I haven't even thought about that, to be honest with you. But like Oda can do so many crazy things with Blackbeard. It's setting up to be really powerful.
Insane.
I think.
Yeah.
But
So
what?
I have to. Well, I have it won't be fast. It won't be long, Josh. So two things.
Yeah.
Well, I personally think with the gravity thing with the darkness, I think it isn't the moon with Blackbeard. It's the deep sea. You know, the only thing that affects Delph
Abyss.
users. Anytime it's not Delph related, he needs to put the Yami and sync it everything. So I think the origin of like a lot of every fruit comes from the deep sea. That's like for him is like he's like if there were 4 initial fruits that were created, he was basically the countermeasure. You know, for every crazy power, you need the balance, basically.
Yeah, I mean that's all.
And yeah, all Pirate Lord.
Go
And
ahead.
the other thing I was gonna say is I'll let Josh go because I have a brain freeze. I'll let Josh go while I think of the second thing of Blackbeard. Sorry.
Yeah. So basically, what you said about earlier about Blackbeard being the failure dreams, I think there is a character that fits better the description and what I was going to say. Also, is inverse of Luffy. I think he's gonna be Buggy, the one with the moon god fruit, not Blackbeard.
Buggy?
Interesting. He thinks
Yeah.
Buggy's got the moon
I,
god fruit.
yeah, I can't make it make sense with his current powers, but you know, like Oda exists on another level. Like
If,
with some of the stuff that you see, it's like he takes mushrooms, so
yeah,
you never know what's gonna pop out of that.
the thing is, when you think about the sun god fruit, you don't think about rubber either.
hmm
This even the cross guild,
That's
you
true.
get
That's true.
all
Ooh.
the previous antagonists come together and
There's
and
that
have a final
common
goal. Yeah.
there's that common belief that the moon is a piece of the earth. Maybe the original god of the moon cut the moon out of the earth with the chop fruit. That's what created all the oceans.
I mean,
Bro,
the-
you got my mind going right now. Like if the One Piece, right? And you can think of like everything coming together as a whole, then Buggy's fruit is the antithesis of that potentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it
Yeah.
splits up. Yeah, splits
I
apart.
don't
Yeah.
think, the moon isn't a symbol of something given, something that dreams that don't come true. You get
It's
get
that
a
hope,
look-
yeah.
yeah. The like even on the roof piece, Luffy's jumping in front of the moon. You have the other families in the one that have moon in their name. Also,
Yeah.
the Suron get the
Oh,
powers from the
yeah,
moon.
Suki. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's a base up there as well. Space Pirates, you know, Nell's up there topless.
Yeah. Also, one of the race that worship the sun god are the sky people. They were once on the moon.
Lunarians,
Mm.
literally the word they create fire, but the name Lunarian comes from the moon. Lune, you know, Lunarian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Luna.
And Buggy and Blackbeard and Luffy have a similar purple design with their fruit, and all three of them weren't fell down and liberated different people. So there is an interesting thing with all three of them. Three
Yeah,
Piece,
Man,
the
this is
One
spicy
Piece.
time for One Piece.
yeah.
Three Piece
In that
becomes One Piece.
Yeah, about Blackbeard. Yeah, if you didn't know about that in the Skypiea flashback, there were mentioned 4 gods. The Sun God, the Rain God, the Forest God, and the Earth God.
Earth God. Yeah.
Earth God,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Also, what Cube said earlier about connection to water. I think Blackbeard may be the Rain God. Also, all those examples in the story when right before the dawn there is some kind of storm, like in Water 7 in Buano.
I think so. I think so. Like, there's going to be a great darkness. It wouldn't surprise me if that's what Dragon's Fruit
Yeah,
is. Like,
I
if
think
everything clouds it.
I think that is what the Blackbeard represents, the darkness before the dawn, the darkness that blocks the sky, even the moon, even the sun. I think that's the role of Blackbeard in the story.
Like, just to connect to that as well, like one of the things that like I am the biggest fan of in the story, and I like chew these guys' ears off about all the time, is Big Mum and Carmel and Big Mum's Jolly Roger, right? And that like shows all like them aspects of the 4 gods. But anyway, when I was doing a little bit of research on Joy Boy, your oldest video, the thumbnail is Big Mum's Jolly Roger. So you get so many updates for that, my friend. Like, so good.
Bro, I was team Big Mom for the longest time, and I'm
That's my
so
girl.
sad with the Big Mom Pirates and Big Mom and Wano. I hope, I don't even need her to come back and like fight anybody or be Yonko necessarily. Like the
Just
thought
need
that I have in
closure.
mind. I don't know if anybody has seen Howl's Moving Castle. It's
Yeah.
a
Yeah, of
Ghibli
course,
film. It's
yeah.
great, by the way. But the Witch of the Waste in that movie,
Yes.
where she comes off as like this intimidating in-game villain at the beginning, and then somewhere along the way she just deflates, and then she just this like senile old lady. If Big Mom returns like that with the connections with her family, and I just want her to be around, man. I was so like, if she just dies, I don't know.
Same.
I don't know how I feel about that. I'm team Big Mom.
Well, there's on the there's a cover story where Aokiji and I can't remember who else. Oh, it's Van
Alga.
Alga.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got Puddin tied up in front of them, and she's ripping up a Vibra card behind her. So I'm guessing that's Big Mum's Vibra card, right? And I'm guessing Big Mum will be coming back, and one would assume it's Elbath. I don't want to jump on that because it seems a bit obvious, and Oda is a bit twisty like that, but I wouldn't.
Before we move off the Blackbeard thing with what they were talking about with him representing the moon and everything, I've always seen Blackbeard as the eclipse. Like, whoever the moon is going to be, I think they will inspire hope, but I think he is the eclipse between the sun and the moon.
Interesting. But wait, the
Yeah,
eclipse between the sun and the earth.
What's that?
The eclipse between the sun and the earth, right?
Yeah. Like that eclipse, like, because a moon, a lunar eclipse is the sun casting the Earth's shadow on the moon. You know what I mean? Like,
actually,
that would tie into him being the Earth God too, like Josh said. If he's the Earth and is eclipsing the moon, oh my goodness, what?
Yeah, well, like the cool thing that I like
does-
about Blackbeard's fruit is that he sucks out devil fruits, right? And
Yeah.
Vegapunk explains recently that devil fruits are like desires. So Blackbeard takes desires, which seems really fitting to be anti-light. You know what I mean?
And
Yes.
it does fit with his personality. Where ever since I saw that flashback of Kuzan, it does give me the vibe that Blackbeard is neither a Luffy character or a Buggy, but he's a mix of both. When he's got a plan, everything goes right on schedule. He is Luffy. But the moment Rayleigh pulls up or Kuzan freezes everyone, he starts panicking like Buggy. Like, so that what Lucas is saying, it actually makes sense. He's between like two chairs. He's sitting on two chairs, different chairs.
Yeah,
you never know on which chair he's exactly on.
Yeah, this goes back to Blackbeard having 3 swords or 3 personality or both or something like that.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
And that's why
Cody,
he
I
doesn't
bet you're
sleep.
loving
Yeah, I've
this.
always
Sorry, Joy. You're good.
I've got a pressing question. It's super important. What's like your favorite mystery in the series?
mystery. And
Like,
I feel like I
like
answer
kind
this
of
the same way anytime
curiosity.
Yeah, I feel like I answer the same way anytime anyone answers me or asks me this. Like, I'm kind of a person of like, I love it, or I have no feelings for it, or I dislike it. And there's like no in between. I
Mhm.
can't pick my favorite. It's like asking me what my favorite Straw Hat is. You know, it just like depends on what's going
Okay,
on right now or the day.
okay. So if I was to click my fingers and we could solve any One Piece mystery and you had to choose which one would it be, which one would it be?
The first one that occurs to me is what happened during the Void Century.
Oh,
That's
I thought you were going to say Kuina. Okay,
that's
Void
my first
Century.
thought.
Interesting. Good choice, I guess. It's one of the spiciest parts of the story at this point, right? Like we've got
Well,
I mean, yeah.
what
to
answer were
find
you
out.
looking for?
No, I wasn't looking for any. I just like as you were building up to it, I was like, oh, I think he might say Kuina, and I was way off.
No,
No,
no.
only
actually-
good
I'm
things
actually-
about that.
If there's
I'm
one
actually curious.
mystery, I need to know why Blackbeard can have 2 devil fruits. I need it. Give me it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I
nice.
need
That's a
it.
good one.
Source. Multiple
So-
source.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you
No,
go.
I'm gonna say my mystery, and it's very easy because I think we all agree Void Century. Like, I think if we have to list on the top 5 mystery to be, we will all agree on the top 5 of stuff. But like, if it's a personal head canon, because I've been reading One Piece since 2002, and since 2002, there's one thing that I've been obsessed is what Vivi said about Nami's ability to just know what type of weather is just appearing
Is
in a
on its
place
way.
where you cannot predict the weather, even change it. And this is for me, the way that Nami understands nature and understands the weather. I want to understand how she does it. Is it voice of all things, observation hockey, or is it something else? You know?
Genetics is my guess, but yeah, I mean, it's almost like a form of hockey if you think about it, in its own unique, specific way. But you
Yeah.
know, it's similar to like Momonosuke being able to communicate with Zunisha. Maybe there's something special about Nami.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you think it'd be like
Definitely.
a super advanced form of observation hockey then that like she can sense the atmospheric changes and stuff?
Well, it's kind of like Luffy. Like Luffy, even before
Mhm.
he mastered his hockey, had an innate ability to understand people's intentions. Right? That's what Rayleigh tells him. It's like his
Yeah.
talent, you know. So there's
Yeah.
like I feel like there's forms of hockey that are just innate to people that you don't actually need to train for. You know. So you know, maybe
Remember-
Nami has something related to weather.
Mm.
Remember what Shiroshi said?
Mm.
Well, first of all, Shiroshi said she felt like she could trust Nami even she never met her, but she said that, you know, for explain the whole voice of all things, it never scared her because she was born that way. Like, she can hear the Sea King, so she never got like, it's like Luffy or Roger or Odin who panicked when they first heard them. Maybe Nami could be a thing that she was just born this way. So for her, it's like
Yeah.
it's normal to hear the weather talking to her if it's voice of all things.
Ooh, I like
She
that.
thinks
I
that-
like that a lot.
You know, she's assuming it's, you know, a regular thing.
3-day trip, the
Definitely
Queen
to
of the
happy, man.
Pirates shouted out, Blackbeard and Luffy are 2 sides of the same coin, and Emu is flipping the coin.
Yes, 3-day. We've cooked this up. Yeah. Yeah.
Love you, 3-day.
I guess I'm not sure what mine would be. Oh, obviously mine would be Carmel. In fact, it would be, excuse me, it'd be more general. It'd be, why does Carmel, Higurashi, and Kureha have such deep knowledge of weird events that are upcoming and devil fruits? I'm not sure if you know, Jobu, but Carmel mentioned like retiring after one big score. And Zebek also mentioned going to God Valley for one big score. So Carmel does seem to, and she was obviously working with Cypherpol and stuff like that. And yeah, there's so many mysteries around Carmel and them 2 other sexy young ladies. That, yeah, I'd love to find out.
And
Yeah, it's crazy that you bring up Correa. Like that's one of those mysteries that would never occur to me first. But like, why is she so old, and what's her story? So it almost feels
Why?
like
How is she so
we may not get an
young?
answer for that. Young, yeah, my bad.
Me slandering my girl like that. Can't let it happen. Sorry, JB.
But about to get Void Century.
No.
Drum Island is an interesting island, man. Kureha being there, and just like what they said
Also,
about inherited will of a country, and I
Isn't
personally
Drum
think the drums are
Island like
cut
the
down
first
trees. Like,
island Blackbeard went to go like that's why Ace went there to go chase after
yes.
Blackbeard, and Blackbeard
Like-
like de-established everything. So like what's
Like-
his goal
like-
and everything?
Like Joe Boy said, it all comes back together, man.
And
It
I will
does.
say
I mean,
Blackbeard. What? Go ahead,
Young-
David. R-Cube.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I was just
I
going to
was
say,
gonna say-
well, my foot. Oh, sorry,
Go,
keep
go,
going.
go. Go. I'll go after you.
I was gonna say, yeah, the first video on Den was the fact that like I made the video about Blackbeard going to Drum to potentially get a Hito Nomi, and I was talking about like how I think Hito Nomis are really important, and we saw he left prison with Samwon Wolf, who we can pretty much guarantee as a Hito because of the way he was described. And now we're seeing Hitos become even more relevant. I've totally forgot what we were talking about, but sorry, whoever wants to go, fire away.
Yeah, it was me.
Yeah,
I
I'm
was
kinda-
gonna say, I'll say this. When I saw the young Gloriosa, even though first I thought of people for Amazon Lily for sure, and then I looked back as an older woman to make a comparison, she kind of gave me the vibe with her lips. Sorry, sorry for the saying her lips and the attire. There is some similarities on the Mother Caramel and Gloriosa, so I do feel like there might be some Amazon Lily lore.
And
Nothing
Miss
different from Amazon
Buckin.
Lily.
They all like shrink down to miniature old women.
Yeah, yeah.
That's another thing that kind of just ties them together.
It's just that's exactly what happened to you as well, Lucas.
I know,
Anyway,
right?
Joe,
Well, I
what
was
were you
just
saying?
kind of taking a side because Cube said he understood how to be an old woman or something like that. He saw it from an old woman's perspective. I'm just wondering how he got that perspective. No.
I'm very method. I'm very method. I go when I do a theory, I go full blown. I become that character.
Yeah, that got me. I
Some would call that mental illness, but not me.
Yeah.
What were we talking about anyway? We were talking about Gloriosa and the Amazon Lily stuff. That's a weird island as well, the shape of that and everything, and the fact there's sea kings all over it and stuff. That's a weird one.
The fact it's
Definitely
called
a
Lily,
strange
and there's
mystery.
a Queen Lily, Amazon
that-
Lily.
Yeah.
Then and also thank you for bringing back Higurashi, because this is my head canon. Everything we know about Wano with the Kurozumi, it was Higurashi who said it. Odin's father just added on it, never giving his own details. And weirdly enough, with Mr. 2, it was explained by Oda that if you don't use the specific hand, you do not go back to your regular face. And for some reason, Higurashi wanted Odin to be dead. So I'm still wondering if like the whole Kurozumi thing, it started because of another reason, like both families were wanted to be taken out.
Joy Boy, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, JB, what were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I don't think I remember. But oh no, I do. If you look at Amazon Lily, this is really interesting. I noticed this like a few months ago. The island itself, it almost looks like Marineford. Its design, it makes me wonder whether like that was some sort of Void Century base or something like that. With islands moving as well, it kind of makes things confusing as to where they're located and if that's actually true. But like if you put them side by side, Amazon Lily and Marineford, it's like strikingly similar.
Yes, dude, don't even get us started on that. Like Marineford has some similarities to a lot of places as well. It's strange, and it has them like 4 rock pillars on the corners as well, which are so sus. Like, yeah.
And in Mother Caramel, the flashback where she saves the giants, everyone assumes it's Marineford. And then I made a video about it. We never got an Oda box of the island. They just showed an island, and people, because of the podium and the landscape, everyone assumed it was Marineford, but we never got the name of the island. So it's interesting what you're saying right now, JB.
When Carmel was at the Giants execution, you mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is so 38 years ago is the God Valley incident, and then 38 years ago before that is that giant incident where like the clouds part and the sun hits Carmel, which is a crazy scene. Like,
are you saying that Usopp parallels Carmel when the light hits him in Dressrosa?
what were you talking to me then? Sorry.
Yeah. I said, are you saying that Usopp parallels Carmel when the light hits him in Dressrosa with the giants? Because anytime a beam of light hits somebody now, the giants are like, that's a god. That is
Because now what you say it kind of gives me the vibe of Marineford with Mother Caramel. Think about it. At the end, Shanks also comes to a bargain to get Whitebeard and Ace's body. Mother Caramel bargains with the government to get the giants to leave, to be able to be free. Kind of gives me the similar vibes. Yeah, but so okay, I do have another question. If no one,
Yeah,
Pub, pub.
get the old
Yeah,
get the
because
list
I
out.
really liked your recent video about Roger's brother. I basically had the same headcanon with my Garp is Rocks video, but Xebex and Garp. But I really liked it, and I want to know first of all, like, do you have a brotherhood in the lore One Piece that you like? And afterwards, is there a fictional, like one that doesn't exist, or maybe you think there is going to be a connection between them of brotherhood? Don't know if it was a clear question.
Yeah, well, I mean, sharing the sake cup is thematically important to the story, and almost every time that we get characters associations, like who you're actually related to matters very little. You know, you kind of choose your family, and that seems
Mhm.
like just a consistent within the story. You know, so again, this is kind of like the who's your favorite Straw Hat or what's your thing you're looking forward to most, like brotherhood that you like the most. You know, I don't know. Um, I like Ace and Luffy more than I like Sabo and Luffy. That's for sure. But sorry for the hot take there. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely got a role.
Yeah, hello? I think you got cut off, man. I can hear you.
Oh, my bad. My bad. I disconnected. What was the last thing that I said?
You pretty like up to the you only just got cut off.
Yeah, you just said Sabo and Luffy, like, sorry
Oh,
for the, yeah, you said sorry for the hot
yeah.
take,
So yeah,
and then you
sorry for
got
the
cut
hot
off.
take. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you got cut
But
off.
I mean, brotherhood definitely has a role to play in this story. Like being sake, you know, there's a reason that song exists. And
Mm,
you know it's gonna come up in the story, yeah, for sure. And for that to be emphasized more with potentially a connection between Roger Rocks and Garp in their past, if we get a Garp flashback and it ends up being more than what fans expect right now, you know, that would make sense to me.
Hmm. Yeah, and but you have like, and also because I'm very curious. So among the characters who we have there, if you think some of them might be connected, which brotherhood would you love to see in One Piece? Like it's revealed like they're that close.
oh, I see what you mean. I
Besides
see
what?
what you mean.
Wait,
Yeah,
so
like
you mean besides
yeah,
Rocks
like
and Roger?
my head canon is I think that Dragon and Kainu went up together in the
Oh,
Marines, and that's why like yeah, like
interesting.
if you have a head canon of some and it's actually not you're not sure 100%, you want to share to people.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't spent any time thinking about this, but I don't see Dragon and Akainu being like that. You know, there may have been a brotherhood of some sort, but I want to see Aokiji and Dragon. That's what I want to see. Those are two characters that I actually like. You know, but it would be crazy if we got a whole story for Akainu, where the character that we see today is so different than maybe what he once was. You know, and that could be a powerful story.
Yeah, the like a Kaido and
Okay.
Captain Morgan type of situation if you think about it.
Um, I'm just gonna fire off like some of these extras as well, so you don't need to answer like too elaborately if you don't want to. But I just got a couple quick ones just for the sake of while we're here. Do you think Odin's journal's accurate?
What do you mean accurate in what way?
Do you reckon that all the details that we got from Odin's journal about Laughtail and Roger and all that stuff, do you reckon that's all fully? Do you reckon it's misleading at all?
No, no, I think it's accurate.
Okay,
I think
it's bang
Odin
on.
rode the adventure to the One Piece entirely accurately.
Interesting. Okay, that's pretty cool. Um, Also, I've got we always ask our guests this. Why do you think there's 4 road poneglyphs? Like, why 4? Seems obviously a bit over the top if it's just like,
You
for
know, I have
intercepting
no
calls.
idea, man. I've learned this as well. Writing is like sometimes you just choose, like make a choice. And
Yeah,
there's not necessarily a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
thought put behind it. You know, so four road polymers. I mean, it may be symbolic. Who knows? Oda is inspired by so many things simultaneously that you can never really be certain. It could be based on some obscure lore somewhere to choose for. It could be related to directions. You know, north, south, east, and west. Maybe that could be fitting.
Mhm.
Um, it could be that he wanted to design like you know, for Yonko, and then wanted to originally like associate a poneglyph with each of them, maybe.
Each of them.
Um,
That's
Um,
ingenious. Like, thought,
Din,
yeah, never thought of that.
I have a
Yeah,
Yeah.
there is a lot
follow-up
of
question though, kind of. I just had this thought, so I just want to present it to the stream. Do you guys think that Sabo will be Luffy's Odin? Like, if anyone records what went down in his his journey, it'll be Sabo recording what Luffy tells him about it, because
I don't.
Sabo wanted to
Robin?
write. Well, no, because listen, this is my logic with it. Sabo wanted to write a book of the world. Like that's all he wanted to do when he set out to sea. I think it'd be pointless to not have that come back full circle in some way. That's my only thought. I'm not like dead set on this, but I just wanted to present the idea to everybody. Everybody.
It
sorry.
is interesting.
Yeah, you also have the parallel with Must Use for Ace Handman.
Mhm.
Yeah,
think-
after
Yeah. Hey,
If
if
Sabo
that
would do
case you say
that-
Mastus, he'll be straight in the chat.
I think there would be two who would write Luffy's story: Usopp and Sabo. Sabo and more like the world building, but you had not forget Usopp's big thing was he was telling lies about adventures, and then he said, "When I come back, I'll tell you, carry my real stories, my real adventures." So it could be a Sabo and Usopp, two different perspectives on who how Luffy affects the world. Sabo makes sure that there's no like propaganda against Luffy, because we kind of see even in Red Hair Pirates, those who didn't know Luffy were scared of him from his reputation. And Usopp is telling the actual adventure that they had together. So I could see something like that, double.
Yeah,
One
I
of
mean,
the-
you're definitely tying into the Bregman and stuff. Joy Boy, if I gave you 1,000 berry, and you had to bet on who Caribou is reporting back to, who would you say it is?
Hold on, I took out my headphones for a moment. Give me 1 second.
No worries.
Yeah, I speculated this for years, honestly. And like I feel like every arc, my opinion changes somewhat. And it's also because Caribou stuck around for so long. I figured like this plot line would be resolved by now, but obviously not.
Yeah, it's
When
true.
I thought it was Kaido, honestly, way back in the day. I thought it'd be Kaido, but obviously that's not the case. But we have a line from Caribou in Sabaody. It's been a while since I've talked about this, but basically, he's looking to capture the Straw Hats. And outside of their bounty, it's like I feel like Caribou has to have some sort of plan there. Like there's a reason why it made sense to him that he would go after the Straw Hats. So maybe he has a connection to a character that would have an interest in the Straw Hats at that point in the story. And the only character that really makes sense to me, as far as part of the like pirate world that Caribou might be angling for, would be Blackbeard. So maybe Blackbeard ends up being the person that he tells Shirahoshi
I've
about.
thought about it. I've thought about that too. Maybe Aikichi leaves and then we have this like missing member again, and it's actually Caribou who makes the last member, because he seems to find everything out by coincidence, and the Blackbeard pirates are very bound by
See,
fate.
I've speculated
So-
on Caribou for a while as well, and I actually think that he's reporting to Cross Guild and Crocodile, who is interested in
that
both
too.
Straw
Yeah.
Hats and Ancient World weapons.
Woo!
I mean, it could be. I mean,
Yeah.
because Crocodile was an impel down, but he was freed by the time that we get to the time skip. So we meet Caribou. 2 years has passed that Crocodile's been active. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
know
mean,
that
it could
it's
be.
And
Possibly.
it was that line that Caribou said as soon as he found out about the ancient weapon, and he said, "Oh, I know someone who would love to hear about this." It was like,
Yes, that's the
like
line. Thank you.
Crocodile was looking exactly for Pluton. Remember that whole escapade in Alabasta towards Robin, like where is Pluton?
Then if you think about the whole Oda saying that the one thing he would have loved of Bark Works was if he could have added the Mr. 10. And if you look at the sketch of Mr. 10, he has a gecko-like face, like it's just a sketch of it. And we see Caribou appearing with number X10. And the only two Logia users who have a Logia that connects to Earth is both Crocodile and Caribou. So, like, I do feel like, and there's a SBS of Caribou being a revolutionary. I do feel like the Crocodile one is an interesting thing. And Cross Guild and Caribou talking about it was in the same chapter.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah,
it
I
could
mean-
literally be like, yeah, sorry.
Well, the crazy thing right now is that the longer that we sit on a mystery, the more certain I feel that Oda's going to zag when we think he's going to zig. He's going to do something different.
Mhm.
Blackbeard is an obvious answer, right? But I didn't even think about Crocodile, honestly. You said Cross Guild, and my initial reaction was Cross Guild didn't exist. But like Crocodile individually, that potentially works, and then how that affects the story. Cross Guild, like it's hard to believe, but it's like a legitimate Yonko organization that's going to play
Yeah.
a role in final battle, right? And so, you know, we're talking about in Wano, Big
It is
Mom and
hard to
Kaido, we're
believe.
gonna find the ancient weapons. You know, it's like, well, you know, Cross Guild is gonna do something, and they'll need potentially like clues that lead them down that path. So, yeah, I really like that theory, honestly.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I've still got a couple more if we want to just fire them off, and then I like to bet. Right, so we recently saw Kong. I shouldn't have to ask this, but you're fully caught up. Yeah, of course you are. Right. Yeah, so we've recently seen Kong again, and it's his second appearance. Do you see him playing any like substantial role, or do you reckon he's just gonna get bodied like sort of off screen or something like that, or do you think Kong's
Bro,
gonna be
I actively dislike Kong. Not basically because like I really don't think anything's gonna happen with him in the story.
Yeah.
I got a message about this sometime recently, like, oh, you know, are we gonna see Kong in the God Valley flashback? And it's like, bro, I don't care. I really don't. What is he gonna do? Sit in his
Let's
office
go.
and talk and like look, lo and behold, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, he's on the
Yes!
phone. Yeah.
Put that boy on
Bro,
Broad Watch. Kong a bum. Get that boy out of here.
Bum!
Bum ass mother. Oh, I didn't do it, boys.
Nicely
How
done.
long have we been streaming?
Nice.
Over an hour. I'm so good.
Nice.
Yes. Cody's hype right now. Yes.
Bro, I
Bro,
do
I
not
don't think
care.
I've
I do
cursed
not
that
care.
much either.
If Oda does something with it, you know, then cool. That's how I feel.
I'm glad I asked. It's funny that I did that happen to ask, but right, go on then, Kube. You line us off, and then after that, like you ask a couple more of your list, and after that, we'll just
Actually,
check some
I
One
do
Piece,
want to.
see what's on.
Yeah, I do want to have a Joy Boy's thought on it is, and even though I do agree, like for me, Kong, I just want to sub, but I'm not expecting like this lurking legend type of character in the day, you know. And, like I would see more like bureaucratic. So with that, I do agree on that thing. But there's something that bothers me, and I went to look back when Sengoku explained it. When you see the flashback of the God Valley, it literally seems like everything is like starting one go at night. But yet, Garp was in the middle of the day under the sun when Kong told him. So I'm wondering if, you know how in Marineford we found out Sengoku planned
Thanks,
everything,
Double.
you know, because he wanted a war.
Sorry.
I'm wondering if Kong literally like got a heads up and like tried to get like Garp to be there for like don't know for good or bad reasons, you know. But I'm wondering, you know, if there's more to the story, you know, because he did come hours before.
Personally, yeah, I guess it's probably us two have spoken on, but you were talking to Kube about it. But yeah, I'm completely open to this idea that like Garp said, you took the Pirate Crown Jewel or something about taking the Pirate Crown Jewel, you know what's going to happen. So if that is true, then that means they took the Pirate Crown Jewel and took it to God Valley to draw the pirates there, as at the same time the Celestials there, which suggests that someone has orchestrated this event. So yeah, I'm completely down with that. And Kong might be involved in that as well. He might have been like known what's going on and been like, they might have been like, yo, go get Garp to come to God Valley so we can chop him up.
Yeah.
But instead he just tanks it.
Yeah, and my main point is I think like Kong intentionally, even before the Rocks pulled shit, told Garp to pull up, you know. Like basically is like they didn't do anything yet, but he basically by talking about it, he wanted Garp to be there because, you know, basically, you know, like a kind of Sengoku type of effect, you know.
Yeah.
That was the idea. So I don't know what's your thought on that. Like if there's more to that call.
Oh, just throw Enjoyable right in there, like.
Yeah.
Still with
So
us.
yeah, no, sorry, I'm getting up and doing things. But no, I heard you.
That's cool.
I just don't see Kong as being that important. I want to read into some of the dialogue there, but I don't know if I understand how yet. So
I mean, he's got like 8 lines probably in the whole story, right?
Yeah. Too
A
bad
bit
of
cheap.
him.
Listen,
Yeah. So.
I said in my chapter review, it's a moment of him surprisingly doing anything at all. Like that's
Yeah.
I want him to play a bigger aspect in the story at some point, but
The
I don't
only
know,
thing
man.
Kong could be doing is
What?
be getting played by someone else as a fiddle, and he's just being like run as the machine he is.
That
Like
is a
he's
fair
unintentionally
shout.
Yeah, I
doing
mean,
things.
well, Kong Kong is old now. It's an old generation. The only role that I see him playing is losing,
Fine.
and that's it. And like you can make that interesting. Like you said, if he's getting played or if there's some sort of political drama. But I just don't know. I'm not hyped. I'm not hyped. It's not the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
as a
like
kind of me.
yeah, it's the opposite of what we were talking about with Big Mum, right? Like Big Mum's someone like I'm endeared to. Like I've become such a big fan of her. Like I want to see her come back. Whereas Kong is just so like yeah, like you say, not really any weight to him, not significant.
Do you
Yeah.
not to change the subject at all, but you mentioned Akainu again, and do you have any ideas of like what his past could be, like what it's going to entail at all?
I mean, I feel like we could only speak in generalities right now because
Yeah.
we just don't know enough. There's not even clues. I think we saw in Oda drew Sakazuki as a child. He comes off as poor, maybe an orphan. But I mean, if there's one thing you can say about Akainu is he believes fully in the Marines. And always has and always will at any cost. He is against the world of pirates. So I feel like that has to be some aspect of his story. His life in some way was adversely affected by lawlessness, and the Marines became his light. Um, totally. I would expect a flashback, quite honestly, and I would expect it to go hard. So in what way, I'm just gonna let Oda cook there. But something about pirates, something about the world that he was living in as a child, as he was a child, I think shook him, but at the same time, sort of propelled him to greatness within his own little sphere of his worldview. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
it's gonna be rough.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it too, man. I really want it to be, because I think I don't think it's gonna redeem Kaido in any way. Akainu in any way, like with what he did with Ace. But I think it'll give some brevity to what his standpoint is entirely when he says absolute justice.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
the flamingo, I think. You would understand, not accept it, or say, "Oh, yeah, he killed all those people," but like it's basically of his environment.
Yeah.
He's basically a product of his own environment. And I think it's gonna be the flamingo effect.
And I just think it's powerful as well. Like Akainu is definitely the villain of the story, but how convicted, or his conviction for what he believes is, it's top tier, right? If any of the admirals is going to unlock Conqueror's Haki, it's going to be that dude, because
Yeah.
of how much he believes in marine justice. So
Yeah, with
It's
how
easy
much
to dread his
Akainu,
backstory, man.
with how
What's that,
much
Like
Cody?
Akainu, oh no, I'm gonna let our captain cook.
No, you fire away, bro.
Nah, man, Captain Cook.
No, I insist. After you, Code.
No, Cody, please, my man.
With how much Akainu, like you said, he's a villain in the story. It's so like well written of Oda to have a villain who believes in justice and serving on the side of Marines and wanting to have order and structure in the world. And like if we look at like what Akainu stands against, if you were to take out pirates like Blackbeard, Crocodile, Doflamingo, that's a good guy. That's a really good guy. But he always has these heinous acts. Like when we track him back to Ohara, he was there to make the decision to like hit that ship of civilians because that's what the Buster Call meant, no survivors. So it's like this dichotomy of like how much of it does he believe is justice and how much of this is he doing out of his own like personal vendetta.
Yeah.
it's so real. I don't even
Yeah.
think of it as a personal vendetta, to be honest with you. I just think, regardless of his past, which might go that hard, it's just how he sees the world. Of you have to eliminate evil, but it's fascinating because in any organization, in order to suppress freedom, like you have to commit atrocities. Like that's just, I mean, there's no way around that. So but he handles it in a way of like I am so totally for this organization that I just know that everything that I do to support it is ultimately what's right.
And
Yeah.
up until the point where he has now become the organization because he runs it. Like
Yeah. The absolute justice.
the
Yeah, but I
absolute
mean,
position. Yeah.
He also has like actual data points though and facts as well to back up his mindset. You know, it's like everything is nuanced, right? Like
Mhm.
any conflict or anything that's going on in the world, like there's two sides of the story. Um, but
I feel a
so
strong Akainu denier coming. An Akainu, I don't know what it's called, but some red pill Akainu take that he's going to be the good guy. Is that what you're going to tell me?
no. Anybody who goes against the Straw Hats is not the good guy, you know. But some good guys go against
Yeah.
the Straw Hats, you know, like good guys, quote unquote.
Like St. Carlos,
Yeah.
I know. Great guy like St.
Yo,
Carlos.
right. Yo, dog.
no.
You need to, yo, how do I kick Cube out of this chat? Let's go.
Yeah, someone keep.
Yeah.
I am on
I was
it.
gonna say, I do agree because even though we say he has absolute justice, we kind of see that he is protecting in a way for after what happened to everything. Like, you know, he was the way he said it when he put the shit, it's on both admirals and saying, I'm not going after Kuzan. He's not a. You kind of see that his absolute justice isn't. It's only absolute on people he doesn't respect in a way, you know. So you kind of see
Mhm.
that he's not that character who's gonna kill on sight, you know.
I don't know, man. That Buster call was like, I don't know. That looked pretty on site to
Yeah,
me, man.
that's some cold shit right there.
That's some Gorosei
He
level
was not
shit,
messing
dude.
around.
Because
Yeah.
listen, Saturn straight called humans ants. Like he was like, "Those aren't people."
It
Kill
just
'em.
reminds
Kill
me
'em
so
all."
much of Ryo Kyoku too, when he was talking to the Samurai 9 at Wano, and he's like, "You guys aren't
Yeah.
affiliated with the world government, so you guys aren't even people. Prejudice breeds like it was crazy. Like I
It
wonder
was
if
insane,
Akainu
man.
would like pat that boy on the head and be all like, you're doing me proud, son." Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have that moment. like,
Anytime we talk about Akainu, it always makes me think of a few good men. The speech at the end of that movie.
mm,
Mhm,
mm.
mhm.
ooh.
You can't handle the truth.
You
Like
can't
that's kind of his
handle it.
mentality.
That's what I mean about
that.
being like freaked about his backstory. Like, whatever the truth is behind that guy, he has like no faith, if you know what I mean, zero faith. And One Piece is partially about faith, particularly in the certain parts of the world, like the one side of the world.
Mhm.
Yeah. I would also say that, and to Lucas about that, you know, when I first read that chapter, and when he called them insects or whatever it was, it says, "Dude, you're a spider. You're not any better." Like he doesn't say start.
Bro, you know how to cook that. You know it.
He was like, "What does spider eat? Ants? No, insects." I can't remember exactly what the translation said either, though. But that's like you know, that was his
That's
mindset. He was like, "What do
hilarious.
spiders do? They eat bugs. I got this." Like, oh, that's brilliant. That's
They called
brilliant.
him Mr. Webb.
Yeah,
Jojo, what do you think about the Gorosei? Do you think they're all like human or?
No, I mean we already talked about this, man. I think that they're legitimate. Like
they're
to
dead.
really
Yeah.
go into my full headcanon, which it would be impossible to explain fully, but you know, I think that they're spirits from hell, that they were cast down to
Oh,
hell.
so you think the Gorosei, as
are
well as the
demons,
like devil
literally.
fruits, is that? Okay.
Like I think the Gorosei are a living devil fruit is the best way of putting that. That they're the spirits of the devil
That's it.
that are unbound from the fruit,
Mhm.
Love it.
summoned through the
Absolutely
pentacle.
love it. Which is obviously super pressing at the moment in Egghead because we have all these themes of Ghost in the Shell with Kuma being a cyborg, but does he really have his will inside there? The Seraphim, you got
Yeah.
Esper, but is it really got any Kuma in there? And yeah, you see a lot of that. So
There's a
Frankie as
panel
well.
that's such a
Put some
parallel
Kuma in
is
you.
when Trebol, Diamante, Virgo, and I don't know if I named all of them, when young Doflamingo, they bow to him. And it's literally the same scene as when the Gorosei bows to Imu. So I do like that. It could be a thing that similar to how they found Doflamingo, Imu like maybe called upon them and, you know. So I really like that idea.
Yeah, I see Emu as Satan, as the devil himself, or maybe in One Piece terms, it's like Davy Jones, or however you want to do it. And then he is summoned spirits from hell, using knowledge or his powers, however it works out. But like when we see Saturn here, Saturn is not human, literally, and beyond just being a celestial dragon, it's he's a creature. This also ties into the idea of like the mass killings or whatever, where you know maybe you need these in order to sustain the Gorsei's existence. But we know like it's
Yeah.
highly suggested at this point the
That's
Gorsei are immortal,
that's
and a lot of
something.
people are going to guess law's fruit. but
Yeah, that's
I could see it
something
going different.
I didn't bring up when I was talking about my theory is that that's what I believe the Gorsei are. Is that like they because that's what I was saying. Like we had very similar ideas, but we didn't like we reached our conclusions differently, and the conclusions were different. But I believe the Gorsei are demons. I think that's what Emu traded for was ultimate power, and they themselves got some kind of power and got the Gorsei as well, like 5 good
So do
henchmen,
we?
5 good men.
We're assuming that the God Valley incident, not the God Valley incident, but the Hunger Games vibes that happens every 3 years. I'm
Yeah,
assuming that
definitely
you
cleansing.
guys think that that's their cleansings. Okay, so they're like reapings of souls, almost like
Yeah,
or energy or something like that.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
do you think
It
that,
might be
well,
what
when
makes the
you're
tree
saying
sick.
that, you mentioned that it's a cleansing, do you think that when the 5 Gorosei were talking, it's time for a cleansing before Lelouchia got, what's that kingdom's name again? Lelouchia'd? Before
Yeah.
that happened, before that cleansing happened, do you think that that was the original way they cleansed stuff?
Yeah, I do. I think that the God Valley incident made it not I don't know. We don't know if it's been annual still. Or like by like tri-yearly or whatever, however you want to say it. We don't know that yet. And
Yeah, they kept going on. Yeah.
did they?
Yeah, they're
Well, for
confirmed
me,
every 3
my
years. I
thing
think.
is, I did with a calculator. I did like every year before, every 3 years before God Valley and after, and it fits with a lot of ages. But what's interesting is a year before that, if there was one, a year later on, Hancock gets a fruit as a slave.
Yeah.
So I do feel like Hancock could have been. That's why, like, and then the moment she escapes and one goes on one expedition, they offer her a Shishibukai position. And then Mihawk, the first time he meets Zoro, mentions not he doesn't hunt rabbits with a cannon, which rabbits was what they named the slaves in God Valley. So I do feel like they kept the tradition on, just not in God Valley, obviously, and
Yeah.
they changed
Yeah,
their way of doing it.
you guys had me think about this a little bit differently. I always thought that the Great Cleansing was something that has yet to occur, right? But like the weapon that Emu used to destroy Lelouchia is just a more efficient method of doing what they had been doing at, for instance, like God Valley with the
Mhm.
every 3 years, whatever the word for that is, cleansing. So was that
Yes.
the Great Cleansing that Emu referred to? Was the destruction of Lelouchia, or that the
Yeah.
Yeah,
Gorosei
like
referred to?
you'll say that like the Great Cleansing is just any form of cleansing, like
Yeah.
anything they can do to just
Right.
take mass
Yeah.
life.
It's basically
Well,
I mean,
it's and that's how I
It
tie it back to the sacrifices too, is that like it's giving the Gorsei their life. It's giving Emu their life. You know what I mean?
like
It's
the way I was like interpreting it is like if the Eam had the Mother Flame way back when, God Valley just would have been blipped instead of
yeah.
having the cleansing games that they had there, and that's why
And
also
they
Saint J.
Yeah,
Garcia
potentially.
was present at the Hunger Games. There is
and
like
they haven't had the ability to recreate that talent that technology that they needed until Vegapunk. So
And it
it's
is fairly possible that like the Celestials cannot do that anymore
yeah.
because they wear all this stuff. It seems like they're not safe going outside, particularly to other others, just so free, with so much free will. But I'm guessing that like we know that the God Valley incident happened, so
Mhm.
that might have caused the end of the tradition, or like you say, they might
that's
carry
crazy.
on the tradition in other ways.
I love that
Yeah.
thought.
Maybe
Honestly, I do. And so then that would mean that they have a 38-year period of not being able to do something
Yeah.
that
Reap
is
souls.
necessary.
And that's why they like that's probably another reason why they let celestial dragons in general have slaves is because it's an easier way to do like subtle like sacrifices as well or like cleansings is because like we've all seen how the celestial dragons treat their slaves. Like they'll kill them. They don't give a damn. They'll
what if
Yeah,
This might
honestly,
be why we see frozen giants in the Thriller Bark.
yeah.
If they lost the
what if
ability
it's
to cleanse, then they've got to freeze them instead.
Yeah.
What if it's a similar thing as Majin Buu? Think about it. The whole thing with Majin Buu is just by fighting in a location near Majin Buu, that energy channeled inside it. Like, what if like Marineford could be also the reason why they did
and that's why
Marineford?
God Valley
Like,
was wiped off the map.
yeah. So like maybe there is something with, and maybe with slaves. Like I always said that the reason I think they give fruits to slave and not Celestial Dragon is
Bingo.
I think when a Celestial Dragon, since he doesn't control his emotions, his will, he's depraved individual. What happens? Jealous of impel down. Like,
Yeah.
what if they know, like, basically slaves because they're oppressed, they have dreams, they desire, they maybe go like, when you let them be free, they reach levels that even Celestial Dragons couldn't reach. So maybe it's like the best source of energy for them.
Mhm.
Well, we have spoke about like maybe they did this to try some of the Lika fruit or to try some of specific fruits, like through forced desire, forced will and stuff.
Yeah.
But like
But,
that would also explain like if they've had this device Kube and like the way that like it charges it, like that would explain why God Valley doesn't exist anymore either, and like why why all these big fights and everything happened at this location. Like how did they get the energy to wipe it out if they didn't already have it from Vegapunk at the time? Well, that's they
Mhm.
charged it with the fights happening there. Maybe that's how
Yeah,
they
and
were doing
it
it
could be a thing
originally.
of the whole Vegeta and Goku. What was the whole problem with Vegeta and Goku that Supreme Kai never thought of? They were over the Super Saiyan level, both of them. So the damage they did was in a level that even a Kai, a god, would realize. God Valley could have been that if it takes that much energy, it was too much.
Yeah.
And that's why the island was destroyed.
well, they were said to have resources, right? So, like, let me ask Joyboy then. Like, what do you know? They said they had resources, like God Valley had resources. What do you think they meant the land, or what do you think them resources could be?
That's an interesting question. I just assumed it was, the land itself, or, it could be gold, it could be, anything like tangible. But I feel like Otis cooking here. Honestly, you guys are throwing out thoughts here that are making me think about things differently. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around it.
That's absolutely fine. Like,
Um,
that's something we hear quite often.
yeah, that's what TLA is all about, man. We just get on here, and by the midway point, that's when things just like start cooking. It's,
I'll get off
but
the stream and everyone's DMing each other like, "Oh, crazy theory, crazy theory."
yeah,
Very common.
with no, like think about if they're actually taking these souls in, whether to put them in devil fruits or to keep their age. What's the best place to do that? At the top of the world, Marie Joie.
Mhm.
Pangea Castle. It's right there. It's I wouldn't say it's in the center of the world because it's not, but I mean kinda.
I mean, yeah,
Well,
the way
well,
the
the
world
the,
is
the
run.
thought the thought this is creating for me, and I don't know if it's necessarily related to what you guys are saying, but my mind's just sort of going off here. Is like, is there a purpose for devil fruits in the world, like a greater purpose to
Mm.
the general atmosphere, or like the inherited will, or anything like that? Like, does it serve a role? And
Well,
so you have
okay.
these cleansings potentially creating devil fruits. Does that have some sort of net effect on the world? The act of creating them, or can that be argued?
I think like it's interesting. It's an interesting idea. Like the idea that because it leads to the possibility that you can abuse this connection. Like if desire creates devil fruits, then the role might be, their function might be to satisfy the desires of those who are oppressed,
Well,
for example. However, if
That's
you
true.
all live in
Yeah.
a greedy time, like we do in the West, then people over desire, and that over desire might pervert the fruit and end up giving you something like a jacket fruit, or just disrespecting the fruit, like the technology.
That's
well,
actually great. I've talked a lot about Buddhism and One Piece, and like the creation of
Yeah.
devil fruits satisfies a desire in the world for something to have occurred, which in Buddhism terms would, like progress humanity. Like that's the whole point of life, and going
Advancing.
forward is to achieve your dreams, and do everything that there is to do so that you can eventually see that there's a state that exists beyond the mortal
Yeah.
realms.
Does
Yeah.
that like also tie back into like why Zoro has like the form of
It,
Ashura and why Zoro met the form of death after his fight with King at the top of Onigashima, and he had to die and come back in a rebirth almost in a sense?
and like just to add to that,
what-
like he is notably without a devil fruit, which is what we're talking about. We're talking about devil fruits, and you brought up what I was going to bring up, which is Zoro, somebody who follows Buddhism in a very strict way, or like not Buddhism in a strict way, but like shows all these Buddhist, like references and like images and stuff like that, and he happens to not have a devil fruit. So that is fascinating. Like,
to go off of what Joyboy was saying is with the devil fruits too. Think of like because devil fruits, if they're born from wills, if they're born from these wills of these people who are being exterminated, basically, like it would be clear that all they would have left in those last moments are their desires, what they want in that moment, the strongest
Yeah.
form of will. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, the
and
dreams.
that's
Yeah.
it's their dreams exactly. In those last moments, they would just have their dreams. So that's the devil fruits are a tool. Their purpose. So in my opinion, would be to help others achieve those dreams that they could not, like in
And I
general.
think, yeah, and I'm gonna jump in with that. It's like my whole thing. I think that's why level 6 of Peldown got the forgotten
Mhm.
level exists. I think it goes with Dr. Hilliard. As long as someone remembers your name, you don't die. I think one of the things they realized, and it could explain why people like Morgan started taking the job they did. Basically, fruits would start. People would die out. There would be no fruits if you didn't remember them. Like
Mhm.
they would. Maybe there's a Roger fruit that appeared, right? But
Yeah, Luffy's
we would
brother,
all agree
Sabo.
that there would never. Or there would never be a Nolan fruit because what?
Yeah,
They made
everyone.
Nolan
Yeah,
undesirable. They made him undesirable. No one wanted
Yeah.
to be like him.
Luffy's one brother, Sabo. Who's that other guy?
And like,
Who's that?
like just to like Zagrash wrote the that analysis recently on Roger and Nolan, and like
Yeah.
he was mentioning that Nolan like didn't fulfill his dream, but Roger did, and what Roger did was like not sacrifice himself, but handed himself over, which is personally why I think Shanks was crying when he got told something, because Roger would have told him something like, "Look, dude, I know I can fight and I can run and all that stuff, but this has to happen. I need to fulfill this journey." Whereas
Mhm.
Nolan like you know, resisted it and ended up like the kingdom not being there anymore and not being able to fulfill it, and thus being executed without a smile. So yeah, I forgot how we got onto that, but yeah, it's interesting.
Well,
Yeah,
there's
it
also
reminds
that.
me of a Dak
Oh, sorry.
video that I watched. That was incredible.
Yo, Dak
Which one?
Sake. Shout out to Dak, the brother of the channel. TLA.
Yeah,
We love
yeah.
Dak over
Good,
here.
good, great friend of the channel. Yes, love Dak.
Yeah,
There's a
go
question
on.
about the.
Good boy. Wait, which video is that?
He did a video discussing, I think it was like 40 minutes of him discussing the Nolan flashback.
Yeah.
And I think something in the
Oh,
title of like
yeah,
why
yeah, yeah,
Nolan
yeah,
didn't
yeah, yeah.
smile. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
And
yeah, 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 yeah.
I love that too because it touches on the failed Joy Boy stuff.
The
Like
Afro
how there's
piece is
different.
real.
Yeah, the Afro piece is definitely real, but like the failed Joy Boys throughout the history of the world, and like Nolan being one, but he failed to smile when he
Yeah.
died. Like, oh, it's
I,
so good.
I got a theory that I'm brewing right now. It's probably gonna come out sometime soon. I'm just working on the specific wording of it. But you know, I'm talking about a lot of like parallels in the story a lot on my channel.
Mhm.
And one arc that we've like consistently not talked about is Drum Island. And so, you know, I was thinking about Here Look, and his line of like, well, the dead, you only die when you're forgotten, right? And it's like, well, damn, Joy Boy obviously believed that because he wrote all about his existence on indestructible poneglyphs.
Yep.
And it got me thinking about that arc more. And I really think that Drum Island might actually represent and give clues to the Void Century. But basically, how this ties into what we were talking about is Hugh Luke may not be a failed Joy Boy, but if you like look at him in the story, and I'll analyze this at some point in time, like he's a weak Joy Boy. Is basically what
Yeah.
he is. Like
He's a real one.
he represents Joy Boy, but without the ability to actually like without any competency, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Like the idea that like anyone can be Joy Boy is definitely there in Hero Look, because he does succeed. Like, you know, he blows up. Well, I won't say that on YouTube, but yeah, he, you know, the end of his story is pretty, you know, it redeems him. He dies with a smile, all that stuff, and like, well, we've
Just
got
like
you here and
Roger as
stuff,
well, he
dude.
turned himself in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Roger, like, he could have escaped, but he definitely chose to carry on, like, you know, and let the journey succeed and the wills be inherited and stuff. But yeah, well, we got you here. Drum is like one of my things, like, definitely. And I think it is definitely strange. Obviously, Kureha was there. She's the first introduction to the Willa D. We have these like heights given, which is rare in One Piece, like to have specific measurements, and the measurement of the drums themselves are exactly half the height between the ground and the Sky Islands, right? And on there's a castle, which gives us an idea of like maybe where Marijois, like what height that is. We're always showing clouds around there. And the castle, you know, Pangaea, all that stuff, Pangaea Castle. But like my thoughts, there's lots of reasons for it, but just to speed on it, my thoughts are that Drum was not frozen originally, that they were trees, and then they were cut in half, potentially by Yoru, and maybe to cure
Bro.
tree fever on Drum, and then they freeze the island. Maybe government froze the island, which we saw Kugan go there, like to like stop the will from spreading, or like the souls from leaving the trees, you know, killing the ancestors, reincarnations of fruits. And what just happens to be there, a Hito no Mi, which now we're seeing Hitos are super significant. And an animal ate it, not a human. No one could find it because it's cold. There's no will to be detected, like say if Blackbeard did go there to do that. So Chopper, an inanimate animal, like, you know, sorry, like just a random animal just ate this fruit and boom, there you go. But that's all the spice I can deliver without losing my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go all in on this one as well because it's really cool. But basically, I want to like take the events in Drum Island and then apply them to the Void Century. You're talking about like Roger turned himself in. Hiruluk did the same thing where he knew it was a trap. He was also dying anyway of an incurable disease, just the same as Roger, but did so anyway. And it was a really powerful moment where he could have this like final speech where he turns the hearts of people or like basically defines an error. But it's I think Joy Boy, just the same, was never defeated. He turned himself in same way as Roger, same way as Hiruluk, similar to Odin as well. And then if you like look at like it's really interesting to me the role of Wapol in Drum Island, where Wapol is the king. He's the emu. He's the celestial dragons, but he also became a pirate midway in the story. Um, that's interesting to me. Thinking about like potentially Emu's past, like what was he during the Void Century exactly? Um, you can also go like more specifically. There's the 20 kings that we know of from the Void Century. Well, they have the 20 doctors in Drum Island. And the specific story of the doctors there could potentially shed light on, like, for instance, Nefertari Lily, and like better be able to understand them. But basically, they were enslaved by Wapol, and that any doctor quote unquote, that didn't uh, basically declare loyalty to Wapol was killed. So apply this doctor concept to kingdoms, so like the 20 kingdoms that went at the world, were those just the ones that remained that basically bowed down to the king on the throne or something like that. Anyway, I really got to think about the specific, but there's a lot of stuff, and I like what you added as well. I wasn't even thinking about that.
See, I think
that's nuts though. Never thought that.
I think that the drums on Drum Island, I've told Dindin this before, that they're going to tie into Luffy's other dream, and I know a lot of the fandom thinks it's going to be a party, and that he'll play them using Gum Gum Giganto, like a giant bongo set, while he's throwing the party, so the whole world, like play the drums of liberation, so the whole world can hear.
And if you think about Drum Island and Emu, think about it. When Emu is introduced, when we're getting the real stuff of Emu and the Reverie, who appears in the story? Wapol, who has a parallel castle to one another. Emu mentions the term blunder, which is a chess term, which is interesting because who is they fighting in front of the drum castle? Chess, who literally has, like, even his outlook is the one of a chessboard. And what does Wapol does? He fuses them together. So I do feel like, yeah, Drum Island, there was some deep lore about the Void Century.
There's a really strange line that, like, it's like, obviously we're One Piece nerds, and I've never ever been able to solve it. But when Wapol goes into the castle, he says, "Look what you've done to my castle," and it's like I've never understood it because it's just frozen, and it was obviously like that before when he had it, and there's nothing on the walls, there's nothing like that, so it's just like really random line. And then it's always made me think that it's like a bit of a shot back to the Void Century where like someone was like, "You froze my castle" or some shit, because it just is random. It stands out.
Yeah, well, they put a pirate flag there, which might be like the importance of that line. Like a pirate has taken my throne, right? And so go back to Void Century, like, is it possible that a Blackbeard like character or Joy Boy like character sort of defeated the king, and took up the mantle of king of the world for a time, and then until Wapol, because that's the story as well in Drum Island, is that Wapol was the king of the world, and then Blackbeard came in there, dethroned him. He became a pirate, and then he returned. Also very similar to what we just saw in Kuma's flashback as well. But is Emu that old, or is this just symbolic of like representing sort of your god king like the Lunarians before? I don't know, but I think it has something to do with the pirate flag. And again, I think that during the Void Century, pirates ruled. That's what I think. So then that would be fitting with the castle, Mary Joie, with the pirate flag.
Yeah,
Mm,
and it actually makes me think with what you're saying right now. So take it with a grain of salt. I'm not saying Chopper is emu, but you could say that the way that Chopper was in the flashback with Dr. Hilliok, like even what he said to Wapol, my son is gonna come here. Please don't harm him, stuff like that, because he had issues with humanity. Because people talk about everyone's flashback, but I would feel bad for Chopper's one. He was like 10 years old, and he lived through like racism and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if
mhm,
Emu, because of her upbringing, he or she, it could be something very similar to Chopper, except he never had the opportunity to meet the Luffy or Dr. Hilliok. He just kept seeing the corruption and everything.
the outcast.
Hence why that deep wanting to control everything. I can't let you guys.
Well,
The
yeah,
last time I let you guys, you destroyed me. Type of
yeah.
situation.
Well, you know what's
Yeah.
so cool about the Here
Sorry.
Look Joy Boy comparison is take care of him, or like don't fear my son. He's a monster, right? That's the will of D. That's the lineage of
Mhm,
D.
mhm.
Probably that's what Chopper represents. Also, I want to throw out another like crazy observation. Is Here Look talks about his 30-year-long dream to heal the sickness in his home country. Sorry about that.
Mm,
And uh, if you actually look at the flashback, it happened 8 years ago to the present events in the story. So 30 years plus 8 years is 38 years. So Here
Yeah.
Look
yeah.
had a dream for 38 years exactly. And he also went to the Far West and has some association with pirates, obviously, because he sees them in such like a cherished light. So I wouldn't be surprised to
Mhm.
see a connection between Here Look and God Valley.
Even
Definitely.
go deeper.
Definitely.
That both Clover and Hilliok, the LUK at the end of his name is a term for Japanese for luck, being lucky, and obviously Clover, 4-leaf clover. So, and I would say that Vegapunk mentions Clover and flowers when he says he has to go to see him. So I would say even I
Mm.
think there might be a storyline where basically Hilliok might have met Clover, and what Vegapunk said about him, it wouldn't be a shock.
Yeah, and obviously Clover knew some big stuff. But I also want to just, Josh, are you still with us? So
Yeah.
yeah, okay, cool. I can hear the turtles going. So just I think it's a good time, like considering we're talking about Drum Kingdom, Drum Island, and the Void Century. Obviously, race is really important in One Piece, right? Like particularly if you ask O'Hara. But yeah, like it's what's your thoughts about the Chopper transformations and the Hito
Yeah, like
mentioned about the point?
yeah, every point of Chopper is one of the races in One Piece. I tell you before, and I have a theory. I'm working on a video that explains that more clearly.
Yeah, I mean, like each monster point does like look similar to features of like these special races that are around the world and stuff. So
Yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me if that was a connection. Like, but yeah, it's a great arc.
yeah,
Absolutely love Drum Island now when I look back.
yeah. You also have the potential for Lunarian like transformation with the awakening of Chopper
Hmm.
and things like that.
Hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, I do like this theory of Josh because it does explain, his whole ninja form and those like kung fu dugong that there was in Alabasta. He did not only saw them, he actually talked to them. He was able to talk to and conversate with them. So I do feel like there is more. So I do like this fear of Josh. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the drums are bang on. It's like when I look back now, I just it's funny. Joy Boy mentioned earlier, like real earlier in the
You're
stream
breaking
about
up.
books. Oh, okay.
Language of the gods.
Robot speak. Right. Can you hear
Yes,
me better now?
Yeah, you were speaking Poneglyph, but you're good now.
Okay. Okay. I'm back with the ancient language. No, what was I saying? God,
Yeah.
So
I've forgotten.
that's all I heard. So I can't really help.
We got
Yo.
$20 super chat from Rage One Piece. Hi ho, great minds, TLA minds, and Joy Boy. Glad to see you cooking together. Question: If the Gorosei could all be related to some sickness, what does this mean for Doc Q, Chopper, and Law in the endgame? What are your hot takes? Cheers.
Well, hot takes would be that Doc Q's Hiruluk's son, and he failed in bringing him up, and now Chopper's the successful son. But yeah, I'll pass it over to everyone to give a proper
Yeah.
answer.
Now with the sick fruit, any sickness that we saw before in One Piece could be a weapon for Doc Q.
What if he was
Yeah,
like?
that's an interesting.
What if Doc Q, specifically his devil fruit, it was desired after all those illnesses have happened? You know, it means to basically revert. Like it wasn't used to get people sick, but maybe like someone would bear the illnesses with the fruit to actually heal the rest of the world. You know, countermeasure.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting because Hiruluk's obviously tied to the Sakura, and the Sakura like does seem to be like he mentioned something about heals everything. I'm not even sure if Oda would introduce something like that. You know, it's a strange one.
No, I don't.
And thank you. For the
I don't
super
think
chat, Ray.
so. I think the spiritual successor of Dr. Huluk is Chopper curing something that currently people don't know can be cured, which is the general state of the world. You know, the mentality, the darkness, and you know. But is Chopper actually going to do that, or is that just Luffy? You know, so does that make sense? Does it have to be something more medicinal? You know, from like the kinds of medicine that he would have learned from Kureha, sort of thing, rather than Huluk? You know, I don't know.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, like I said before, with Chopper representing all the races in One Piece, he could be another god, the forest god, the one that can
Yeah, the
relate
Hito
to
could be the forest of
yeah,
fruit.
yeah, the one that can relate to
Yeah,
everyone and bring them together, like a
that is
partner to
interesting.
Nika.
Yeah, I mean, it's a
Boys,
strange fruit. Like,
I hate to interrupt. I have to shoot off of here. But had an
no
amazing time
worries.
today.
I was,
Yep. Oh,
I was
sorry.
about to whip it up anyway. If you want to if we want to
Yeah.
close up now, if
Oh
everyone's
yeah.
happy to.
Is everyone cool with that?
Yeah.
Our esteemed guest.
Yeah, whatever you guys want to do. I'm here enjoying the ride.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Well, I don't mind. Like sitting tight for a little bit while Lucas shoots off, and we'll just cook for a little bit. And when the time comes, I'll just close it up. We
Yes,
can close
sir.
up whenever now. Though.
Yeah, I just
But
want to thank Joy
Lucas,
Boy
pleasure.
again. Yeah, for coming real quick before I shoot off. Like I said, man, you're a big inspiration to the channel, and it means a lot to all of us. So we'll see you again, my man. And to everyone in the
Yeah,
chat, I love you all. No, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you guys are cooking on like a monumental level. This is great, honestly.
Oh, thank you.
That's great to hear. Thank you.
I didn't actually watch a full stream before I came on here. So like seeing like it's been great. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, never two streams are the same.
Yeah, that's true.
No two streams are the same. Yeah. All right, Lucas, do you want to plug your own stuff before you shoot?
Oh yeah, I am Straw Hat Lucas, helmsman of the Last Ark. You can find me on TikTok at straw_hat_Lucas, or right here on the Last Ark Live channel, where I also do chapter reviews under the guise of a newscaster. Yeah, and we'll see you guys again soon. And yeah, that's it. I love you, crew.
He's also he also has
the
the Chadmiral streams on Fridays usually.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Chadmiral podcast on Fridays
with my wonderful host SSJ8 Cody and Fritz the Ditz. What is up? All right, but yes, later, guys. Have a wonderful
Take it
rest of the
easy.
stream. Yep, later.
All right, before
Take it easy,
anyone
guys.
starts cooking, we got to thank another $5 super chat from my boy who was on Chadmirals yesterday, Terrible TJ. Thoughts on
Yeah,
Usopp
TJ.
being allergic to an island, like how he lies he has diseases that don't allow him to go on land or whatnot. Doc Q could use his devil fruit too. What are you guys' thoughts on that from my boy Terrible TJ?
I didn't quite understand the question, but it sounds spicy. Like, you mind reading it out one more time? Sorry.
Thoughts on Usopp being allergic to an island, like how he lies he has diseases that don't allow him to go on land or whatnot. So like how Usopp lies about, oh, I can't have going on this land disease. What if Usopp could be allergic to an island? Doc Q could also make his devil fruit make someone allergic to an island in such a sense, I think.
I mean, I think it's just
Bro-
more like a mentality thing. Like if you believe enough in you have a disease, you can actually make it.
You're a hypochondriac. It's basically that.
SIBO.
Yeah.
No, but this has me think about Laugh Tale. Like, what would that would be a really clever way of hiding an island as well, if you put like an aura around it that only strong hockey users can break, basically.
Or
Like as
certain
like
wills.
I'm not saying that's the only reason Laugh Tale could be hidden, but like as an added thing to it would be cool, of like an island that you're allergic, like you anytime that you go near it you feel bad, so then you never step foot there, basically. That'd be crazy.
Yeah,
Rules to
I
just step, like get near the island sort of thing. Like, yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
yeah. I heard before that Laughter could have something against devil fruits, devil fruit users. Like Roger didn't have a single devil fruit user on the ship when he got to Laughter because
Yeah, both
That's
Buggy was
true.
sick. Yeah, Buggy got sick before going there.
Yeah.
That's
And it's
true.
interesting, and it's
Yeah.
interesting because
Shanks did.
that's why I do feel like there's a desire thing. They desire certain people not to get there because it was when they basically had all the information. They were not going directly to Laftel, but they had all 4 world polyglyphs. Toki first started getting sick, so they had to drop off in Wano. And then when they wanted to go on that path, then Buggy got sick. Like it gradually got bigger. So
Mm.
what if it could be my
I got.
theory of yeah, I was gonna say, what if it's the drums of liberation? Like the upward users cannot get there unless among with them there's someone who is actually beating the drums of liberation. Joy Boy.
hear it at least.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
interesting because I was going to say, do you think like Luffy will get sick when he gets close to Laugh Tale? That's interesting because with your idea, maybe it does get you sick. Like maybe that. Like one thing I will definitely point out is Oda had on the way to Long Ring Long Land, he had Chopper and Usopp state that they were scared and that they didn't want to go to the island. And then when they all got there, there's the only two to stretch. So I do think Josh is right as well. Like it is a state of mind, or like you can be vulnerable to it. But like Joyboy says, maybe it's maybe you need a hacky balance to navigate it. Particularly like there is observation haki, and if you're looking for a missing island, having observation haki probably helps, right? So yeah.
Honestly, that'd be crazy. And then also you'd finally fulfill Usopp's promise of an island that he's literally sick, right? So he can't step foot. Like I guess he'll overcome it, but to sort of confirm that lie.
Yeah.
It is interesting because Chopper's obviously a doc, so and he's a good doc. Like maybe he could like actually heal Usopp of like this pretend illness, and then Usopp's like, okay, I feel great. Or maybe he lies to him and gives him a different drug. You know what I mean? Like we saw with the Sulong medication, like boosted him up.
No, you really got me
Okay.
thinking. I'm really starting to think that they could be like, because my thing is a strong hockey with this whole thing is cool, but that means that unless if the people who were in Lathel before were just like almost conquerors, like I do feel like more that Buggy and Toki could have gone there, and they were just missing certain components, like drums of liberation, a certain type of wills, like certain keys elements, basically, more than just hockey, like a specific wills, like maybe Buggy's
Yeah,
will and
definitely.
Luffy's will have to be on the ship, he cannot just be Buggy.
Oof, I'm not sure about Buggies, but I think like the crew, like Frankie's will, Robin's will, like the will of O'Hara, like the will of Vegapunk, the will of all these people in the one place at one time creates the one piece, like the keys, like you say.
Kind of makes me think of My Hero Academia when they keep saying to Deku, it every time it's not the time now, it's the time, Kind of makes me think of that,
Mm-hmm.
Not the time for the upward users to go to Laptop.
That's interesting. Like I never would have thought that there was something here. I never like if you told me this beforehand, but like I don't know, I like some of this. I don't know if it'll be exactly like we think, but like even if like Buggy getting sick before reaching Laugh-Tale and Oda loves parallels, like that might be a thing.
Another thing that like
One of the
with
crew members.
TJ bringing up Doc Q, it made me think of like this old theory I had. We always see how like somehow Devil Fruit users have like impacted islands, Raijin Island, Punk Hazard, just like these weird phenomena in the One Piece world. And one phenomena to me was like an incurable disease that like after so long, even though it's not contagious, people wouldn't go after to try to cure it. And I wondered if like the previous user of Doc Q's fruit made like the amber lead disease or sapphire scale disease. and like that's why they're still prevalent in today's world.
I mean, Emberled, we've got the inspiration for how you get it
Yeah.
with the aura.
Yeah, but it is like true that like the sick fruit or that sort of theme of sickness could have been prevalent back in the Void Century. That it might have been like one of the ways that they were cleansing people. They tried making everyone sick and killing them that way. But
Yeah, or
I guess
did it
that's-
intentionally,
it's kind of-
basically.
Yeah.
You know, but there's
Yeah.
there's also like actual like lead poisoning is a real thing. So for Oda to be inspired by that, and it's not necessarily related to devil fruit, it's just that's literally how it happened, and then it's like encouraged by the government. You know, they know that it's poison, but they let it happen anyway for reasons. Yeah, it'd be
in
cool
France-
to visit an island with an awakened Doc Q fruit where it's just literally like the sick island.
Yeah.
No, I think
somehow
what
they're
it
immune.
is inspired on the real like plague and those kind of stuff that real had in the real world. Because when we first see Lilith, the Vegapunk, she's wearing a steampunk mask, which is those masks in France were the mask of people who would cure incurable diseases. And at the time, they thought that they had to protect their entire face, or else they would also get sick.
Yeah.
Back in
Yeah.
the day.
Apothecaries and stuff like
So
that.
he is going with the deep lore about the illnesses. I just find it very weird that with Doc Q's thing, with Law being turned into a woman, the solution was Haki. So I do feel like
Yeah.
there might be like
Right.
it's more like you don't need the medicine. It's all about your willpower in a sense, which is interesting. Take for something that you can't
It
control.
also reminds me that there's a member of God's Knights that also wears that mask.
Oh,
wonder if
dude,
that island
he
were in-
it's the same mask that was worn by the kid at Lamb's house,
Oh,
Lamb's orphanage.
Yep. Big Mom's flashback.
Numbers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, now you brought this up because I don't know. I'll call it. It's a head cannon, a twin head cannon. I don't know which one to believe in. You see that woman that was next to that guy with the hat who talked about the Maillard family or the Maillard family?
Myanmar.
Yeah, Mayama. Don't you feel like the way that person was drawn, male or female, he was drawn very similar to how Oda used to draw the supporting characters of the Revolutionary pre-time skip whenever he showed Dragon. People showing only like
True.
their cheek and their mouth, eyes a bit hidden with a hat on their top of the head. So I'm wondering if it's like
And
it's
the
Oda
old
saying
rifle
that.
as well.
Yeah, so it's like I'm wondering if it's Oda's way of saying that a former Holy Knight or someone who's connected to Holy Knight is a revolutionary, or among the revolutionary there's a spy for them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like they would be
Yeah.
captured at this point in time if that was the case, but who knows?
Yeah.
If they were if they're revolutionary at Gold Valley, then that's a messed up business. They're going ahead with stuff like that.
But I mean, they're doing that in the world of pirates, so the
Yeah,
government
that's
is.
true.
They're infiltrating in the underworld as well.
The underworld, is a fascinating part of One Piece in my opinion, particularly after Egghead. And Frankie as well, the fact that he had connections to the underworld, he got the Adam Wood to build the Sunny.
And the fact that one of the Japanese lore for the name of the underworld is the Yomi. Literally the land's called Yomi, which is Brook's fruit.
Yeah.
It's so
Brook
funny,
is
you
a-
guys. Every time
a
you guys bring up
crazy
the
thing.
underworld, I only think of how crazy Stussy's reveal was, and how we first saw her interacting with black market deals on Whole Cake Island, and now she's this quintessential figure in Miss Baki and being there at God Valley with Whitebeard and all these prominent figures. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it? Giraffe juice, everyone.
Yeah, definitely.
Weird.
Nobody.
That's for me. Stassi is the whole thing with Ivanka. A few months ago, because basically we were working on a few Impel Down, and I realized every time that Ivanka, right now with her time, there's a lot of stuff that Ivanka was talking about in Impel Down that seems to make a lot of sense now. Like when he speaks about Luffy, he used the word legend, which they also call the Nika for the legend, lurking legend. And then he says someone who comes to liberate.
You mean when they told who's who, or
No.
generally?
In Bangkok, when he meets Luffy, this is what he says about Luffy. He is a guy with a great vitality. He's a guy made of legend. Someone to come and liberate his brother.
Yeah.
Those are literally phrases that kind of goes in Nika fruit. And then he talks about Shiri of the Rain with the three other pirates the similar way of how Sengoku talks about Zebex and Whitebeard Kaido and Big Mom, in which he mentions Catel Devon, Vasco Shot, and San Juan Wolf shook the world, just like how the former rock pirates who became Yonkos shook the world. Like a lot of interesting stuff. I just never thought that he would have taken part of God Valley and Marineford, to that extent. So yeah, we're getting this vibe of some characters.
Yo,
having
Mr.
lived-
Bushido with a $5 super chat. Lindbergh was a not good supporter in real life, so he's the traitor. P.S. Luffy's mother was 1097 in the top hat. I don't think so. I don't think Luffy's mom has been shown yet because I think there's some dragon agenda that needs to be shown off so that I can quit calling that man a bum and get him off my watch.
I'm not gonna lie. I think Luffy's mum is the nun that served Emu in like 906 or something.
Oh, yucky.
I've said this. Luffy's mom has to be dead because there's no issue with the whole dragon thing. But I'm sorry, if Luffy's mom is alive, they have to explain like she forgot about Luffy because it's the way Oda spoke about mothers.
No, she's in Marijua, captured by Ymir. Like that's the chick that was like, the one that looks like Best G used to say looks like a nun. The one that's kneeling.
Rage also
praying,
had a
like,
really
and
good
summoning.
Yeah, no. But what I'm saying is Anand is. There's gonna be a real big story because Oda's literally saying that having like their moms there is the it's the opposite of having them having an adventure. Father would embolden,
Yeah,
a
the
mother wouldn't.
antithesis,
So
yeah.
like with
Yeah.
that thing, he would need to make a good story on why Luffy's mom, was not involved in his story in his life. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
I,
saying.
I like the idea that he could be the empress of Amazon Lily before Boa. Like she knows she is dead and she was in love with someone. Maybe that was Dragon.
Yeah, I mean, it would give her a reason to be like a good reason to be dead because obviously the love disease.
Rage had another
Yeah, we
really
don't
good
see-
chat that I wanted to elaborate on, and he was asking if anyone had any Impel Down 2.0 theories and ideas. And I've had this theory that Marco and Miss
Wait,
Baki
wait,
are going to
wait.
team up. Oh, why?
Before we
Why do
switch
I
off-
have to wait? But go on, Kube, please.
Yeah. I
Enlighten
was
me,
gonna
please.
say with the Amazon Lily thing, yes, it's just a point, but it's an interesting one. Is the whole thing his mom be connected there would explain why Buggy asked him if he was Rayleigh's
You don't care
nephew.
about his mom anyway. You've made it apparent you don't care. Moms hinder adventure, you said. Dog, quoting Oda. Why you fighting me?
I'm not
Bro,
fighting,
let
I
this
just
man
want to finish
speak.
a point. Yeah, I want to just finish a point, dude. Come on, man. You want me to?
speak?
You know what? Next week we're doing what's called a Diddy back fight. You and I.
Oh my god.
Okay, cool.
Anyways, you can spit, Cody. You can spit, but next week Diddy back fight between you and I. We'll
Oh
stream
my
it.
god, we are on the same team, brother. Mr. Bushido with another $2 super chat. Nun is Carrot's mother. Proof on Discord. Who's the nun? The nun is Carrot's mother? Oh, the nun in Marijua was Carrot's mom.
No.
Yep,
no.
you're gonna have
The
to
nun
deal
is
with that, Den
Luffy's
Den.
mother.
It's true. So I think that with Impel Down
Carrot is
2.0,
not
I
Jordan.
think Marco is gonna be on his way with Miss Bocking on their way to Cross Guild, and with that, they're gonna be all like, "Hey, we have this another prominent figure you guys could recruit to your ranks. My son, who is Whitebeard's son, help him out." And they're gonna also end up recruiting Doflamingo, Bon Clay, and getting the whole gang back together out of busting out of Impel Downs 2, and that's gonna be one of the events that will shake the world. Is Cross Guild completely like going over the top?
Yeah.
If
Uh,
if it does happen, Impel Down has had so many breakouts. it's like the worst prison in history. Like.
Kenya Bull cannot remain as the warden. Sorry.
Yes. I mean, obviously we could get back to Impel Down and some more events could happen there, but wouldn't it be cool if like Impel Down is deep in the sea, right? We're heading to Elbaf next, and my theory is that the tree that's in Elbaf, it leads to the Sky Islands, and we're gonna see a whole new world, basically fully fleshed out there. It'd be cool if there was a prison up in the sky that we could visit and sort of have similar vibes there.
Yeah,
That'd be
I'm
crazy.
thinking that it could be even more like
Interesting.
yeah, Elbet Norse mythology is on levels. The ground level, the sky level, and underground level, and even more like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Actually-
built up even
And
more.
Wano is like the portal, right? Like symbolically, and Wano had a prison in as well, Udon. So we would have had one under the sea, then one on the land, and then one in the sky. I
That makes
absolutely
awesome.
love that idea, man.
And
I
to go
thought
about
that. And
Impel-
obviously Amazon Lily.
for Impel Down 2.0,
Yeah, and so
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Go. I'll
so
go after
Luffy,
you.
yeah, so Luffy goes up to the Sky Islands, right? And we know the Giants of Elbaf are friendly, right? But the Giants of Elbaf that we know live on the base of the tree. So if they climb the tree, which I hope happens, and there's a Sky Islands up there, which is also theoretical, and Loki is up at the top, it's not necessarily a friend. So you could have sort of a jailbreak without it breaking the rule of Impel Down that bothers you, where it's like, oh, there's too many jailbreaks going on to the unbreakable prison.
It would be another cool
Yeah, it's
callback
And
to
then it would
like
also give Luffy
Skypiea
like,
with Jack and the Giant Beanstalk. If they had his castle in the sky and they had to climb up that, and like giants living in the sky, just writes itself. It almost feels like.
Yeah.
bro,
It also
talking about fables is perfect. And also
Yeah,
in
and also
in Skypiea, they were
no, go, Joe boy. I'd rather you finish and then jump in over.
oh yeah, it's just that when we were in Skypiea, Gonfald says that there's like a normal way to get up to the Sky Islands, the summit of High West or something like that. So it would make sense to, at some point in time, to actually like see what he's talking about, like see this other pathway, the normal pathway to get to the Sky Islands, not the Nuck Upstream. And it's always made sense to me. Like you have potentially Treasure Tree Adam in Elbaf that's so tall it extends the Sky Islands, and the
60,000
vine
foot.
Giant Jack wraps around it.
Millions.
But like with this giant structure existing in the sky, you can basically capture some of the pyroglobe and the sky clouds that just naturally form. It sort of connects them from the branches, and then from there the beanstalk.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like when you say there's a whole another world up there. I see what you mean. It's like the
Yeah,
branches amongst the clouds make like a cloud tree, which
a whole
is
new undiscovered world.
literally what we said in the drum video about like if the trees did go up from drum all the way, and then
Kube, you
trees would
should
have been
spit
in the
about
Sky
Disney
Islands
piece.
if they were cut halfway. Like, but yeah.
Or before they
Disney
fully
piece.
grew, yeah, or like similar.
And
Oh
I
no,
could
no,
see
Like
Joy
the
Boy.
drums,
Okay, go.
I was just saying the drums are half the height between. Like earlier, I was saying the drums are half the height between the Sky Islands and, oh yeah, exactly half the way, and it was stated as measurement. So in my opinion, that's significant. So I do believe, like as I say, there were trees, but up there, like Kube and I, we literally were saying in the video that like the branches go into the clouds. It like makes like an ancient kingdom in the sky potentially.
Den, I have a question about that. If those trees were cut in half, right, where did the other like parts of those trees go? Because like you have to put them somewhere.
That's a
Do you
very,
think?
very interesting question, my dude. Maybe
Th-
And
that's
how
where the
tall do you
Adamwood
think the
from the
trees were?
underworld comes
Actually,
from. I
no, I have
believe
an
they
answer
were.
for
Noah.
that. Not even
No,
Noah.
no,
Think
the
about
Noah
it.
doesn't work. 'Cause
No, think about it. We have
Well,
many
yeah,
islands.
the Noah, yeah.
We have many. We've seen many islands. We suspected it, and Wano, we know about it now. There are some islands who rebuild over old civilization, and most of the time when you rebuild it, what you did, they take from trees, to build like new bridges, new ground. So I would see that the natural resources were fucked up because after all the wars, they want to like. We know
bro,
Marineford. We know Marineford has an entire underground tunnel. Like most likely that's what they did. They just rebuild over it, use the resources.
I mean, like
Use stones.
Pluton, Noah. There's some big options for all
yeah,
that wood. But,
no. I don't think Noah works because Luffy destroyed it too easily. But I've had this thought for a long time
Pluton,
of
yeah.
like, because I believe the ancient kingdom, the Void Century was related to pirates, right? Of like literally creating islands similar to Thriller Bark, and then maybe to like Water 7, for instance, it's sinking potentially. Oh, they say that the sea level's rising, but I think it's sinking. But if you're looking for a place to use the wood from the trees, potentially it's like the creation of islands themselves that we've just come across as like the base.
Yeah, particularly if Pyrobloin in the cloud, like, because that's interesting. That could make islands like.
So to go back on two things we said before, because you guys were spitting, I didn't want to interrupt. First of all, I do believe Crossgill will be bringing back Luffy's greatest hit from Impel Down. The only thing we get for Impel Down 2.0 is if you unlock Peak, and we know that the Flamingo is an Impel Down, so most likely the rest of the Flamingo's crew, you just uncuff Pika and they escape. The only part of the prison that's not made of stone is the handcuff people have and the cages. The rest is just made of stone. And to go on your Sky Prison, I like it because this will be a narrative where Luffy will have to Stone, because up to right now he has been very bliss when it comes to Sea Stone opponents, and I feel like they could do more damage to him, you know. And so I do feel like this
Smoker's
could be
a bug.
That is
an
interesting.
interest. And there's a lot of like white clouds, so like it could be in that in a prison like that they found ways to literally take out Karoseki in the air, you know, like a new way of doing it.
Mm.
So that could be also a very good narrative to have Luffy encounter this issue.
Interesting. Yeah, Smoker obviously, as Cody says, has a bit of Karoseki and Karoseki on his
It's a
staff,
crime
right?
how
And like, how
Luffy get,
convenient would he be in clouds?
yeah. And also
with
think
the
about
character?
Luffy, how easy Luffy is getting it very easy. Like Law and all the other ones are getting like sea stone bullets, sea stone nails. He gets a staff and those kind of stuff. Like he doesn't
know,
get that those deep weapons
with-
against him.
I did like with
He
Smoker
doesn't.
actually having the Sea Stone like introduction of Sea Stone weapons, and we just figured out in Wano that Sea Stone weapons and other applications of it are made because they make it with like the volcanic stuff coming into contact with Pyroblind. Could somehow Smoker manipulate that smoke with his devil fruit and like learn how to manipulate the actual Kairoseki in such a way that he could like immediately shackle
I mean, it is
people
getting
or
tricky.
form it around there? Because he has a
getting
devil
tricky
fruit
'cause
and it is a
fruits-
devil fruit user interacting with it. I get that. But it is smoke.
Yeah, it would be
Mm.
fitting for him to be in like the clouds and stuff, Smoker. And we get some more Tsushigi after a disappointing appearance on the boat.
Don't get me
So-
started.
Yeah, you
Smoker's
just
on
gotta
that
be
product.
you gotta be careful with devil fruits interacting with Sea Stone in
Mhm.
ways
Yeah.
like that.
Mhm.
I feel like.
Because he'd be mega
Completely.
broken then.
Yeah,
Because the
yeah,
only
it's just
time-
like if Sea Stone's the weakness to a devil fruit, then it's hard to manipulate Sea Stone with a devil fruit. Is what.
I see.
only
what
time
you're
we
saying.
Although
see
let's
that-
be
that
honest,
kind
like
of thing-
every time Smokers, but just to be honest here, like the only time we ever see Smokers, he's got something going on with Sea Stone, like cuffs or whatever. Like every time he's in the story.
Mhm.
It's true.
And also think about it. Every time we see someone use a devil fruit against Sea Stone, and the best example is Mr. Shree, it's only after he created his creation. Like it's not like part of his body. It's like it's part of the creation. So he's not actually using his fruit against Sea Stone. So yeah, I do think that we have to tread lightly. I don't think like Luffy being Rubber Man, you know, you go in Gear 5, he would be able to Sea Stone. However, you know, the goggles he creates from his hair, maybe that could interact with Sea Stone. You know what I mean? It's not really part of his body. It's just an extension in a way. So I could just, you know, in that extent.
That is where it gets tricky. Yeah. When you're
Yeah.
imagining and stuff, and then bringing it out of like into
Yeah.
existence, and then that touches, like, say you throw something, what if that touches Sea Stone, like, and then your whole transformation cuts off or something? It's weird. That's
Yeah.
tricky.
So, Joy Boy, so before you were coming, because I have a question for you. And first of all, I want to thank you because for like 6 months, I've been looking for a panel in One Piece, the one with Shanks talk about the Sea Devil. And I was rewatching some of your videos before. And I'm so happy that you reminded me it was chapter 19. And with that, you know, that certain panel. So for those in the stream who and on the chat who forgot, it's basically Shanks explaining a young Shanks that devil fruits are all the different carnation of the Sea Devil. And so my question is this, and I always thought of this because ever since I've been looking at, you know, how devil fruit users fall in this and they just lose all access, it kind of makes me think of someone who is under PTSD or an excess level of trauma. So I'm wondering if devil fruit users aren't cursed. If everything starts with the Sea Devil or let's say Emu, what if it's because maybe Emu has an issue with the sea, you know, living on top of the world? Like, and because of that, it is basically like vibrated through every devil fruits. Like basically they think they can't
So-
swim, but it's not
They're
Emu. It's not Emu.
hydrophobic.
It's not them. Yeah, it comes from Emu. It's her weakness.
Maybe. You know, I think there's so many elements of that are creative that I think we need more to grapple with. But my thought is that in pirate lore, the sea, the bottom of the sea, Davy Jones' locker is like where souls go, right? And so if the souls that exist within devil fruits are unnatural, like they should be somewhere else, like the afterlife, the underworld, Yomi, whatever. So the sea, like that's why the devil fruit users sink when they get into the waters, that the afterlife knows that something that belongs to them is there and is taking it. But as far as like Emu specifically being like this like deity figure, that's related to all of this in less of like a devil fruit way and more of like a literal way. I mean, maybe it could be. I definitely think that there's significance that Emu lives at the top of the world for sure. You know,
Mhm.
it's like almost like escaping. If you view again the sea as like hell, you know, he's immortal, right? So he's avoiding death.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I like that. I like
definitely a
that.
good
That
take
last
considering
sentence,
they're like,
dude. It's cold. I like that last sentence. Sorry, I really like that last sentence. It was really cool.
yeah, like it's the levels, right? Like it could be symbolic with the water, and it could be like thematic with the people as well. Obviously, we don't know if things are racist, but like we know that celestial dragons are pretty racist. Like they at least they don't they're superior in their minds, right? So they don't want to chill among the common folk and the plebs. So that's also partly like symbolized by them being so high up. I imagine like this whole idea of gods, right? Gods and devils, but are they really gods or are they just fake gods and all that business?
Exactly.
And like Kube's been spitting some fire recently about her. Oh, well, I think it's Kube. He's been saying about Hermes, and about like that is just such a like the myth is the motif of it just fits so well with One Piece. The idea of like taking technology from the gods in the form of fire with Hermes and bringing it back to the people, and then them building civilization, but then ultimately destroying themselves with the same technology they stole from the gods, which is definitely the vibe I get from you.
And if you think about it,
Yeah,
Yeah.
just the
absolutely.
name. If you think about it, the first god we got was Enel, right? Who was a Birkin. If you look at anything about Hermes and those kind of stuff, and in French lore, they will describe that the bag Birkin bags comes from the inspiration of the brand Hermes when they wanted to find a name, and it's basically an actress who had that name, and they made a whole lore about a story for their brand, like they made like a storyboard about imagine Hermes sending you the best bags, and that's the whole thing. Like it's the most luxurious bag that was created basically in the 40s. It's rather around the time of the Second World War. And so different lores with like the backstory of that, and I find it very interesting. Of have the one is is a Birkin, and it could connect back to Hermes, the one god that goes through every land, even the underworld, and was literally the messenger between man and the gods. So I do feel like it's really relevant that that's his race.
Mm.
Like there's more to
And
it.
Nell literally went to the moon. So that's pretty
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, interesting,
But
interesting. I mean, it's one of the spiciest arcs in the whole story. I remember,
yeah.
oh god, people used to actually hit on that stuff. Okay, right, we're going to start signing it off. So, JB, firstly, thank you very much for coming. I hope you've had a good time. I hope we've not scared you away.
Yeah, I hope you had a great time. Thank you so much for coming out here.
Oh, this was great, dude. Invite me again in the future. Absolutely. Like
We'll have to
for
get you
sure.
on Chad
I
Rules
mean,
for sure. It's way more unhinged
bro,
there.
Yeah, we'll hit you up.
yeah.
We have some
I
few
mean,
things planned. Most likely we'll hit you up. Yeah.
but yeah, no, you guys were cooking. Like this was fantastic, honestly. Thinking about some of these things, it's definitely going to be influential for me, so yeah, I'm glad to be here. It was fun.
And vice versa, dude. Like you're definitely as versed as we are on the subject, let's say, like at least, or more probably, obviously, because you've been going for so many years. But it's been a pleasure cooking for you. Before I start outroing us, did you want to plug anything, like anything at all? You're welcome to go crazy. If you don't, it's
Yeah,
maybe
I mean,
possible for
I'm
you.
terrible at this. I'm terrible at intros and I'm terrible at outros. Like I make content, right? I have a YouTube channel. You guys can check it out or not. You know, that's not why I'm here, honestly. I'm just here to chat and interact with people. And I don't know, like this time that we're living in right now is going to be short lived. It's going to end at some point in time. So make the most of it is
Yeah, yeah.
how I look at it. But check out my channel, read my books if you're into it, and I just ask that if you do read it, you don't have to read it, obviously, but if you do, leave a review, because that's the game
Yeah.
right now. Is I need word of mouth, I need people, out there saying what it's about, but yeah, so that's
Interesting.
pretty
Yeah.
much what I have
Okay.
to say, dude.
Good to know.
And
How would you feel if we were to read one of them on stream?
You could do whatever you want to, and I'll be here for it. Absolutely. Anybody who takes the time to read it is a fan of my book. One of the greatest things that's happened to me over the last year was Dax Sake messaging me saying that he read my book. And like at first I was like, no way, no, you didn't. and I talked to him. We actually had a stream where we were talking about it. I was like, damn, he really did read it. Like, no cap.
Yeah.
We were talking about not just like the actual story which was taking place, but like what it meant and stuff like that. And that, that's kind of like half the reason I wrote it. It's like there's layers there, like reading One Piece that I hope people discover. But yeah, that was big time for
I'm
me.
very
So
excited to read it. Very
I'll support
excited
any
to
of
read
that.
it, dude. Nice. Okay. Cody, do you want to fire a plug?
Fire a plug. Hi guys, I'm SSJA Cody. You can find me at SSJA Cody everywhere. I make unhinged TikToks and unhinged streams here on TLA. It's been wonderful being able to host the stream for y'all. Thank you for the opportunity. Go TLA, watch all of the D&Ds that are happening throughout the week. Shout out to vexyz for getting me into the One Piece TCG. Hopefully I'll be able to lose a couple rounds against some people coming up here soon, and be sure to join the TLA Discord to see what we're all about, because it's just an absolute fun time here. And I love every second that you guys bring me on, and I love being able to share my passions with everyone and being able to bask in all of you loving the passion that is One Piece. So we'll let someone else
Nice.
fire off
Nicely
now.
done. Jay, feel free.
Yeah. So if you wanna talk anything else at the One Piece like JJK or Record of Ragnarok or Chainsaw Man, you can join my server, the sister server to TLA.
TLA.
Yeah. Also, soon I'm gonna post my Chopper theory and many other theories about the God Fruits.
Yeah, God Fruit Fairies are banging. All the links for like Josh's server in the description and in the server. Same with Joy Boy that dashed about. You can find them anywhere. We've got super mods. Thank you, by the way, mods, for doing your thing tonight. I'll drop you all a message after. Yeah, Kube, would you like to plug anything?
Sure, of course. Obviously, I'm the historian Cube of the Red Sea, Blues Cube, any names you want to call me, I take any names except Celestial Dragon names. I don't take those names.
I don't know, man.
And
You were
so,
pretty. You were pretty on the dot to call yourself Garling hunting rabbit Codys. I don't know what that was all about. Let's.
Whoa, behind the scenes leak.
This is a different story. This is a different story, guys.
Oh
This is
yeah,
a
now
different
it's
story.
different. Okay, I'm always ready to slander you, Cube. I love you.
For everyone, I want to thank everyone who. I want to thank JB. I want to thank you a lot, because I'll say this: it's someone as big as you. I do like the relax, and also like even though you go into deep stuff, the way you explained it, you don't go like in a crazy tangent that some of us get lost to. It was very simple, but yet quite complex, but well explained. So I want to thank you for that. It was a very interesting interaction. And for everyone, check out his recent video. If you're a big fan of Roger, then you'll be a big fan of his brother. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, just watch Joy Boy's recent video. I really liked it. Yeah. No, that's my theory. Don't worry, it's a different one. But yeah, check it out. So if you want to discuss with TLA, check out the JB's latest video.
Thank you, Cody, as well, for streaming tonight, as always. Yeah, team, it's been a pleasure as always. Joy Boy, like, honestly, we've been holding in the fanboy stuff for a while. After this stream, there's going to be some madness going on.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute honor, absolute complete honor. And to be able to like as I said earlier, your stuff, and to be able to sort of be graced by that knowledge and wisdom on OP is obviously a pleasure, man. So thank you so much for every minute you've been here, dude.
This has been TLA.
It's my pleasure. Look. No, before this, like, bro, you were on my level. Everybody here was on my level. So, like, I wouldn't put myself up on a pedestal too high. It was great.
Well then, this has been TLA. I'm gonna sign us off. This is I'm gonna end stream, and then I gotta click the other button.